About to go live. Pull up. All right. Get this thing started. All right, we're gonna review American Maroon documentary by Tariq Nasheed. Oh, it's terrible. Waiting for people to come on in. Going live already. Waiting for people to come on in. Right. Play some damn music right quick. No, I'm gonna get this shit flagged, so we just gonna continue. Oh, what's good? What's good? What's going on? What the fuck?
There are a lot of misconceptions about Maroons. Typically in literature, whites will say that the Maroons were uncivilized, they were unorganized, they were lewd, they were barbaric. These were the people who lived in the bush.
There is no other group on the planet Earth that have taken on the devil the way we have in his own house. Some estimates say that there are.
All right, so we got Midwest here. Still waiting on Alquan to come in. Hardcore. Let me drop this shit in. All right. Link is at the top. What's going on, Alquan? All right, click the link, bro. layout is unique. This is the first time I'm ever using this one, so bear with me. All right, how do you add somebody on here? What's up? What's going on?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, tonight's show, we're going to be decoding and debunking Tariq Nasheed's American Maroon movie. And for those that don't know, this is, what's the word I'm using? Copyright infringement. I hope it's not copyright infringement. This is for educational purposes only. So fair use.
Right.
So I came across this movie like a couple of years ago, and it was sick to my stomach. It didn't feel right to like the Black American experience with American Indian identity and heritage. So what I found funny about this movie is this guy wants to put himself out here as if he's the arbiter of Black American culture, but don't take accountability for his flaws in the past and in the current present, and puts himself out there as if he's like not a leader, but he's a leader in most people's eyes. So we'll continue into this video. What are your thoughts on like the FBA and the hip hop ideology that you're hearing about with this individual, Alquan?
This FBA stuff is FBA is going wild. I mean, it is just crazy now. It's gotten out of hand. We got FBA's threatening people, even people trying to threaten Tariq Nasheed. So you better watch out. I'm sure he has guards. Because again, you talk all this crap. There are people out here, they ain't just gonna laugh at your jokes. You know what I mean? They're gonna come see you, and he doesn't understand. People know where he's at. So,
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know if you heard one of his last videos where some guy was on there, he even outright threatened him. Because he said, you keep talking all this crap about Black people, calling them musty, even when they don't say anything bad about you. When they call up, first thing he asks, like, you're in Nazi Germany. What's your background? What's your nationality? It's crazy. That's not
it kind of sounds funny. It's funny because it kind of sounds like he's robbing content from you, because he usually uses this term called tether, and nobody knows what that really stands for. And from what I've observed from your previous lives that we've been a part of, it initially meant like delineating or removing ourselves away from Pan-Africanness. And the identity of these Pan-Africans are usually West Indian, Caribbean descent people that come up here and tell Black Americans that they are generic Africans and that they need to immigrate to a place that's not their home, right, just for them to come over here and replace our demographic.
Right. While they don't tell their own people to go someplace else. But see, he keeps changing the definition month by month. On the one hand, he said that his wife is an FBA, even though her mother is white. So she's not a tether, but she's FBA. But he says that Drake is not an FBA, even though his father is an FBA, but because Drake was raised in Canada, so that doesn't make him FBA. But it's supposed to be about heritage, right?
Yeah.
I'm not heritage, lineage. So that would make Drake an FBA.
That would, because if it's supposedly his father is a Black American.
So how come his wife is an FBA, but Drake is not? How come, what's my man, Nipsey Hussle? How come he's an FBA, but Drake is not?
Yeah, and then He's attacking individuals like Lord Jamar, who's backing him fully, calling him a tether for some reason, even though he does have Caribbean origins.
I don't like him lying about that, trying to say, well, it was a long time ago. Who gives a damn? It still was what it was.
But anyway, we're going to deep dive into this mockumentary film that he made, that he crappily put together, and get the audience thoughts on the movie. Everybody can see this.
Okay, he won't ding you for that. That's good.
Yeah, he won't, because it's blurry.
Even though a guy like him, he might just try.
Yep.
There are a lot of misconceptions about Maroons. Typically in literature, whites will say that the Maroons were uncivilized, they were unorganized,
So
they were lewd.
Is this woman familiar to you, Alquan?
Oh yeah, another agent supporting agents.
So who is this woman that is talking within the beginning few seconds of the film?
Deanna Bailey, aka or code name Dr. Ma'at.
And what are some insights that you could tell the audience that she's done for the community and what you've observed so far from this individual?
Well, she supports that sadist, criminal, and Uncle Tom Coon agent, Karenga, Dr. Karenga. And
Yep,
if you actually check her pre-doctor records, out of all these criminals on YouTube, truth be told, she was the most gangster out of all of them. Because she was making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars pushing that weight. And carrying guns. So don't be fooled by the fact that she's a woman and she's sweet and nice looking. She was straight gangstress.
And from what I heard, didn't Sinetta TV bring her into the community after she was like almost convicted of a crime of robbing a bank?
Yep. And she's down with Ankh, so you know he's a drug dealer too.
Yep. But anyway, let's get back to the film.
These were the people who lived in the bush.
There is no other group on the planet Earth that have taken on the devil the way we have. In his own house. Some estimates say that there are about 50,000 rooms that you can find per year throughout the Americas.
The Great Dismal Swamp was an area between Virginia, North Carolina, the eastern border area. This was a popular area for a lot of not only runaways, but natives. A lot of the black natives hung out there. The Gullah Geechee were known in that area.
Because that's who we are.
All right, so did you hear the fuckery that was just said earlier?
What's that about the Gullah Geechee?
Yes, so he mentioned the Great Dismal Swamp. Do you know where that is located?
Is that Louisiana?
No, it's located in Virginia.
Okay.
And it's a part of Nat Turner's story.
Oh.
So the Gullah Geechee, they are located in the Low Country, Yadkin, PD, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida area. So why would they be known in the Great Dismal Swamp, which is up there in Virginia, mind you? So why didn't he fact check this person that he chose for this movie?
Who is that guy anyway? Who wrote this? Was it Tariq Nasheed?
Yes, Tariq Nasheed chose this individual. Let me pull him up because he's in my notes.
You know, I noticed that Tariq Nasheed's been biting your style too when he runs down Indian tribes, and it's like he copied what you said when you were up there, but he doesn't really know the details about it all. You know?
Yeah, he didn't actually do the research on these materials when he's trying to encroach on this Aboriginal ideology. And I believe the person that was in the video, his name is Chase McGee. And from what I researched about it, said that these people weren't really a free community in Virginia. You already had like free blacks up there in Virginia during slavery and that time frame that didn't hide out into the swamps. This is something that is conflated, that these Afrocentrics try and convince people of with using Nat Turner's rebellion, but they don't really know the real history about it. But he was over here trying to clown Dane Calloway about saying that this person may have been fictional, or Harriet Tubman's life and what they write about Arminta Ross may be fictional.
Also, speaking of Dane Calloway, what do you think about SETI saying that he never heard of Dane Calloway before?
He made a whole bunch of videos about this individual.
Just
and
this
he
past
watched
week, he said he never heard of him.
That's crazy, because everybody knows who Dane Calloway is. Even Tariq Nasheed's phony ass studied Dane Calloway and acted like he didn't know who he was.
That's what they do. He lied, and then in the same show later on, he said, I don't care what the guy Dane Calloway represents. So if you never heard of him, how you know what he represents?
Exactly. And then you're going off and spouting off the same stuff that his community says. Like he said that Dane Calloway is a conspiracy nut, but you're out here telling people that you should listen to Alexander von Wutenow going off of a meme from Johnny Aborigine, which was reposted on Pinterest.
See, that goes to show that Tariq Nasheed didn't investigate that. But I did look into that book, and I gotta be honest with you when it comes to the Mongol type, or the, you want to call it neutral type Native American with the so-called beak nose that they try to attribute to a Semitic.
Yeah, the Roman nose, aquiline thing, right?
Yeah. I gotta admit that is intriguing, because that nose is not a feature of a Mongol. They have flat noses.
Exactly. They got usually wide nostrils and the typical features that they attribute to Khoisan Africans, right? But it goes on to mention out of Africa theory, Kaba Kamini or Booker T, Coleman, or whatever his fucking name is. He sits up here and says that the Umbuti Twa Pygmies were the first people to settle the Americas, literally. But we'll continue watching.
I never heard anybody else say that. And now, you know how I feel about people who keep changing their names. Something ain't right. They keep changing their names. Something ain't right. So he's dismissed it. And, I first heard of that guy when he was Booker T. Coleman, and he had the bandana on talking about the Moors. That's when I first heard of the guy. And I was intrigued. See, that's how they trick you. They start talking this talk, and then you start thinking, man, that's something else. But people like me, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, yeah, I got to find out if this man's telling the truth or lying. That's how I'm thinking.
Yeah. It's the same thing. I first found out about him through Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors, because I pirated his old movies. Well, I didn't pirate it. Somebody bootlegged it back in the day. If for those who remember, bootlegs was a thing. Well, somebody bought a copy of Hidden Colors off of a bootlegger, and I got to see these individuals for the first time, and it made me go down that whole I was a teenage Hotep route.
Right. And again, these are the people that did it. They come and bring. I first heard them. I saw them on public access TV. That's where I would see all the black stuff. Public access. And Farrakhan come on every week. What's the other guy? Wallace Muhammad.
Khalid Muhammad.
Yeah, him too. And what's the other guy?
John Henry Clark.
Him and Malefe. What's his name? Malefe.
Yeah, Malefe.
Yeah, him.
Well, who else?
Runoko Rashidi.
Yeah, Runoko Rashidi. Ivan Van Sertima.
Yep. Yeah. Part of me is like, man, it sounds too good to be true, man. That's what I would be saying. I'm like, if all this happened, what happened?
So what do you think about a quick thing? What do you think about these individuals putting the word DR in front of their names as if they got a PhD?
Yeah, that loses credibility with a lot of these people. And most of these people always say the white man's education doesn't mean nothing. We're teaching you the real. But why masquerade as a DR if the white man's education doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Like Umar Johnson, I don't believe him anymore. I believe he's a con man, and he hasn't proven his credentials at all. He's BSing. I'm done with him.
Mm.
But let's go forward. Let's go forward with this Maroon's BS.
All right.
See how accurate this is.
Anywhere in the world, we are survivors.
If you are really tapped in with your environment.
So that's red pillar and blue pillar.
Right. You don't say that ecosystem.
Come on, when they're out there, they're already dismissed because they're tethers.
Which is our nationality and our tribe. And we fell
He's a tether.
from someone else's eyes.
Resistance is not just about not only violence.
Oh, here's another grifter, Vicky Diller.
Oh, yeah.
Resistance to literature, resistance to language.
A whole 2 detachments of U.S. soldiers.
He's a tether, too.
Seminoles. They destroyed an entire U.S. military force. Out of 110 people, they killed 108. That's damn good shooting.
The Black Seminoles were using all types of guerrilla warfare tactics, and these warfare tactics are studied in military schools to this day.
They didn't like Muslims, slaves.
Clyde Winters.
They didn't like slaves because they weren't afraid to die.
Once you realize you're not safe, your children, your families aren't safe. The people who you're bringing in the world are not going to be safe long after you. There becomes a need to stand up and survive at all costs.
You know, you put a city a blood filter on that shit. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't even consult any so-called Native American, Fed recognized Native American for some regalia for his movie. He just put together some ponchos and some rags and tatters and some Michael's feathers and called it a day.
That's what happens when you do shit on the cheap, man. When you do shit for real, that's when you get to, like, when they make movies about police tactics and stuff, they actually hire police consultants, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and he also bought katanas. He couldn't get a regular Confederate or Union soldier saber from out of the antique store. No, this nigga just went and got katanas.
Damn.
And had people do capoeira.
So you know what that means? In Hollywood, they have people who normally rent out props.
Yeah.
I guess he's too cheap or couldn't afford their prices. I mean,
it's not even expensive to get a saber from like a fucking antique shop. It costs like $100 or $200 for an antique sword, or go to a gun show.
You know damn well a guy like him ain't trying to spend that kind of money. $10
How
is too
you
much.
have enough money to buy AI videos, because that shit costs money.
Nah, actually, some of that shit is free. But I think the ones he's probably using pays a little more because he has a little more detail. But the ones I've been using, those are free. And then I got a program on my computer, but that taxes the computer, though. Even mine.
Hey, what kind of computer you got?
Custom joint. AMD Ryzen.
So we're going to continue this movie.
We are today's Moons. We are the force that's moving forward. We will never be stopped.
For the last 200 years, we've been given one image of what a Native American is. But when you look at the archaeological and scientific evidence and historical records, you have to ask the question, who were the real Aboriginal people of the Americas?
Native ancestors who were not Asiatic, by the way. That's another fantasy. When the Asiatic came across the Bering Strait, the African was already here. The Asiatic and the African engaged in an internecine warfare for nearly 10,000 years before the European got here. And they brought the Asian disease and killed off a lot of our people. And that
So what does he mean by that?
That's BS to compromise and mix in their already African identity that they have been selling people for decades. That's what that is.
It sounds like he ran with you. Are you familiar with the documentary called Ancient Voices with Mark Hamill with the Lucia skull?
I may have seen pieces of it, but probably not the specific one with Mark Hamill.
Well, he says like a hypothetical statement, like what happened to these Aboriginal African Negroid Australoid looking people, right? He well, the people that written the script for him, he supposed that these people went through a warfare between modern Mongoloid Native Americans and these Australoid looking people, and that they killed them off or something like that.
How come they never say they mixed?
This guy is.
Yeah, how come they never say they mixed? Because it's pretty obvious that the mixing took place, because if they didn't, they would look yellow like Chinese.
Exactly, and he doesn't mention that shit because part of the thing, what I hear from some Aboriginals, they say that they were in wars with these people and didn't mix, and I disagree with that because clearly you still find these bush Mongol natives in South America and Central America that has clear features with Negro lookalikes and people that look like they Chinese.
Right, with the yellow skin, straight jet black hair, shiny hair.
Exactly. And they're just trying to make it sound how should I say this? Tone deaf.
Right. See, guys like this guy, he's not only a Mason, but he's a so-called Pan-Africanist selling us what I call makeshift Africa.
Yep.
They just throw every damn thing in they can and say this is Africa, African spirituality, African culture, all this bullshit that doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
That's why you can't challenge it.
From James Smalls, he flip-flops back and forth between Indian identity and this Africa stuff. Like years ago when he had the dreadlocks, he was talking shit about his own mother, saying that they're not African, but then turns around and talks about how his parents gave him information about being indigenous and took him to the mountains and stuff like that, but then turns around and say that's African.
I always say to these people, that's why I was on one of my videos. She actually let me on one time about a few weeks ago, and because I wanted to challenge her information. She's like, get on. You know how they always lie and say, come on, get on if you want to get on. As soon as you get on, start debunking, they want to kick you off. So they don't really want to hear anything, because I want to hear these so-called master teachers. Those are the people I like to get at, the master teachers, because if you get at what they're talking about and debunk that, all the other stuff doesn't matter.
They don't.
Take out the master teachers.
And plus, even if you look at the master teachers like John Henrik Clarke, for example, he agrees with the Aboriginal paradigm. If you've seen his what's that last debate with that Jewish woman that was talking about not out of Africa?
Lefkowitz.
Yeah, Lefkowitz. He says that he got in a debate with Malcolm X about our own culture, saying that we don't eat pork stuff. That's horse shit because we were raised on that. That's our culture.
Right.
And then Malcolm X didn't know too much about African history. He got G-checked by many others about that shit.
And he learned a lot of that from Dr. Clarke. You notice I called him Dr. Clarke. You know what? Just real quick, I watch these animal videos. I can't help but notice that when lions kill buffalo and they eat gazelle and all that kind of stuff, they act a different way. But I notice when they kill the pigs, I notice like, damn, it's like they tear that up. I'm like, damn, they must really love the pig. It's crazy.
Well, anyway, let's get back to the video.
They weren't the ones that migrated over the Bering Straits, that came via the Mongols. Who you see here were the Asian Mongols. They came over here as not only migrants, but as conquerors. The indigenous people were copper-toned Moors. They call them Moors. But they were
Wait a minute.
Hold
the fuck up. How can they be Moors if that shit didn't exist until centuries later? A millennia later, mind you. And this is a descriptive term talking about these North African ethnic groups.
Well,
So
even
how can he be copper colored if Moor means black?
right. Now, we can even give them a pass on that. Let's just say they were Moors. Now, here's the question, because a lot of people confuse Moors before Islam, but most people associate Moors with Islam. So where are the, like when you see the Moorish Science Temple, they like to go back to Egypt, Rome, Carthage, but they always like to keep the Fez and Muhammad and semi-Arabic names. So you can't do that because you're talking two different situations now,
Yep.
two different time periods. So you got to make up your mind, because if they were Moors from 1,000, 2,000 years ago or more, then you can't have any Islamic association with them. None. Can't talk about eating pork. Can't or not eating pork. You can't do that. You can't talk about turbans. You can't do that. No Muhammad. Yeah. So that's why they got to get their story straight. And that's why people like Taharka Bey, you see, I had to trick that guy into having a little mini discussion with him, you know?
Yeah, same here. You know, it's on that, Moor comes from the Maori tribe, but in this documentary, he goes on to say that it came from the Greeks. For real, because they ain't describe them as Moors, they describe them as Ethiopians.
Right. Moor means black. Niger means black. Yeah, Roman emperor. What was that guy's name? Something to Niger.
Leo Africanus, or what's his name?
Philip the Arab too.
Philip the Arab. Yeah,
that was another black Roman emperor with an afro. Now he had a Roman type face, but he had that afro. So I mean, come on, and it's crazy.
All right.
Blacks that everyone knew about and that were actually crisscrossing before to Africa and back again.
And so that is why you will see Luzia, who is an African woman. You can see her. And there are other African signs that can show.
I guess he didn't want any copyright issues on that.
16,000 years ago.
We found one of the oldest skeleton remains, the bones of Luzia, Luzia, in Brazil. And up until 2018 in the National Brazil.
This ain't the only fucking bones that they got. They got other Paleo-Indian bones. They got Anzac Boy, got Kennewick Man, you got Naya Skull, all types of stuff. This ain't the only one. But the thing is, they try to get rid of this bus because it burned down in the Sao Paulo Museum a few years ago. And then they replaced it with another one that didn't look similar to Luzia. And they try to say, they're not Negroids because we swapped out the skulls and made a new reconstruction. So they're Walter Nevers and Richard Ede is debunked.
So it's like when people catch on to it and expand the information, and they want to change it all up all of a sudden. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I tell some black people, man, don't tell every damn thing that's going on, because then they're just going to go back in and change shit.
Yep. And this European science and history, it doesn't really work in your favor because we ain't got our own people in these institutions.
Right. That's why I say with these Africans, when you got the Chinese digging for minerals out there, I swear to you, I know if they find something ancient, some ancient civilization, that might be a once in a lifetime find or something like that, they'll probably destroy it or take it. And the Africans are so dim with it, they probably say, okay, well, who cares? You know, because the Chinese just want what they want. So that's why you got to be on top of things. You know.
A quick aside, deviating a little bit from the video. Did you hear from Tariq Nasheed going after this Pan-African guy where it sounded just like the Mississippi campaign?
Oh, yeah. I was going to send that to Meatball, but I did mention it in one of my videos because I think Meatball still watches my videos. I was hoping that he would say, somebody stole my idea. But
said
see,
we
he
need
put
to
it
take
down.
over Georgia, go down there to Georgia, take over the politicians and stuff like that.
Yep. And Tariq Nasheed said it wouldn't happen and all that kind of stuff. But see, he wouldn't want to do that anyway because he's not trying to do that. He's just trying to get your money.
Exactly.
That's it.
And deviate the reparations movement or whatever that's popular and trendy within the conscious community.
Right. Now, I always did try to tell Meatball, Atlanta and Georgia, you know, you want to talk about taking over something, it's hard to do, especially when you come down there saying, I'm coming to take over something. It's pretty hard. But, it is what it is. We'll let Meatball, maybe he can hear that and he can come up with his own retort.
And basically come out and say, hey, Tariq must have hired that person because he stole my Mississippi campaign.
and the state right close to Mississippi too,
Anyway, let's play this video.
Museum, they had a display of her that was done by Richard Nevis, and he said, without question, this is a Negroid face. This is a Negroid skeleton.
Not only were Black Aboriginal people here in the Americas, there's also evidence of other Black people coming from Africa doing trade with the Aboriginal people here, like Abu Bakari II.
They believe that Abu Bakari and his crew landed somewhere in Brazil. And as you know, Brazil has...
Can you pause that for a second?
...of Africans outside.
Here's the thing about that. You know how Afrocentrists now are saying Ivan van Sertima, they came before Columbus. Because of that, they dismiss him.
Yes, but they regurgitating him here in this video.
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing. Abu Bakari. See, it's easy to see where Muslims had trade or interaction with non-Muslims because they're always going to leave something behind that's Islamic related.
Yep.
They got to prove that. They can't just talk it. They got to prove it. And it should be easy to prove. Just like those slave ships should be easy to prove, but they're not.
Oh, and then this is another low-hanging fruit that they try to attach an African spin on something, such as the martial arts that these people use. So how come I go to Google up what was the martial arts of Native Americans that were enslaved versus the Negroes that were enslaved within the United States? How come they gonna sit up here and claim that our shit was from various African tribes? Like they're saying that we're Igbo, right? But the martial arts came from Angola. They say that it's some wrestling thing that they found in Senegal or whatever. But when it comes to Indian martial arts, they were already doing the same shit. So how did you assume that our shit came from Africans? And how do you assume that capoeira came from Africa, Angola?
But see, here's the key. When they talk that kind of talk, all you got to do is say, hey, the Portuguese had Brazil. Now, the Portuguese did have Angola. The Portuguese had Angola, but they didn't have Senegal. I'm unaware of any martial arts out of Angola. I am aware of some out of Senegal, but that was French.
Yeah.
So you can't claim that for Brazil.
Like stick fighting and boxing is from what I've observed.
And wrestling.
Yeah, and wrestling. And so do indigenous Americans here. They do knife fighting. They do they accredited guerrilla warfare to indigenous Americans. They don't accredit guerrilla warfare to Africans.
Right.
So that's fishy right there in trying to claim that our culture came from Africa because you're just reaching at this point because it looks like something similar over there.
Right.
Another
They're
thing
preaching
would
to the
be
ignorant.
drums, rhythm.
They're preaching to the ignorant. That's why they don't teach these things in a college class. They teach it to people who they presume did not graduate from high school.
Yep. Prison wizard scholars.
Right. And I've been
this is in mainstream shit too, like Henry Louis Gates co-signing this crap.
Right. Like when I was a teenage hotep, I kept asking myself, why do these doctors target people who aren't even interested in college instead of people who are in their colleges? That's what I couldn't understand. So that's when I started thinking something can't be right. I didn't know what it was, but I said something can't be right.
All right, hush.
The continent. I also want to mention that Dr. Ivan Van Sertima in 1987, he presented evidence to the Congress to suggest, not even evidence to suggest, but evidence to prove that there was contact between the Native American people and African people.
Genetic studies, in particular for Brazil, where they traced the original inhabitants of at least South America to people who came via boat from Africa, Australia.
Wait a minute.
To South
Did he just show a picture of some Australoid people claiming that these are Africans?
I can hardly see that, but
yeah, it's a picture of Australoids in a Polynesian style canoe and calling it African.
I can't imagine that boat traveling from Africa to the Americas.
You can't. They would sail on these boats across the Pacific Ocean to Rapa Nui and Hawaii, all the way to Easter Island, and possibly landed in California, which they have evidence of that occurring, but they don't have any boats sailing from West Africa all the way up to Brazil.
Now keep in mind, some of these Afrocentrist pro-blacks, like psychopatheists, you know what they've been saying lately?
What?
Africans could not sail.
Yeah, they saying that shit, but they did. They have an 8,000-year-old canoe.
This is how you can bust all this shit. Because it's crazy how these people, when I was growing up, these people preach all this pro-African, pro-black shit and said blacks did this and that. Now all of a sudden they're trying to reverse it. But this is how you can change it when they say Africans or blacks couldn't sail. I always bust their shit when I say this. If they couldn't sail, why do they call the thing mooring if they couldn't sail?
Exactly.
That's what white people call the shit, mooring.
And how can you deny that Moors are black, even though Africans were doing the same shit the Moors did, selling their own people to white people? You can't get around that shit.
Right. And you know what? I was reading something else. I forgot what it was, but they were saying that in Eastern Mediterranean, they were taking tens of thousands of white Slavs as slavery. So it's crazy.
It is. Well, we'll continue.
The first humanoids on what you call this hemisphere.
We can all thank the Twa and Mbuti for our presence here. Had they not done what they did, we wouldn't be here today. They populated the world about 100,000 years ago. There is evidence of a woman found in San Diego, California. Her bones are about 80 to 90,000 years old. When you look at the California, named after Queen Khalifa, it was an African woman. So that when we're looking at these migrations, when we're looking at the people here, people came in waves. And the first wave is going to be the Twa and Mbuti.
Wait a minute. Did you hear this nigga? I told you. He said the Twa and Mbuti, right? That's hunter-gatherer niggas in the Congo.
You know what? If they're hunter-gatherers, how can they build seafaring vessels? Because to me, out of all the pygmy types, yeah, you got them in Filipino and a lot of islands in the South Pacific, but most of those were kind of close together, so you didn't need to build like Roman style ships and all that kind of stuff. To get to the Americas, you think about this 3 months. I want everybody to think just the first night, especially if you haven't been on a boat before. Imagine sailing in at 12 noon in the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Mhm.
And then once that night starts to fall, and then you don't see anything anymore. Then you start hearing stuff, you know. Then you start saying, "What was that?" Imagine that. Just
Yeah,
imagine that.
it's scary.
So it takes people who either knew what they were doing or got there by mistake. And we should see some evidence, just like this transatlantic slave trade. We should see the evidence of the ships. We see the pirate ships in the treasure. Now, that should be fantasy, but that's real.
Yep. They got pictures of Blackbeard's Queen Anne's Revenge. They got a Viking longship, a Caligula boat, a 8,000-year-old canoe in Ghana.
Speaking of that, I was reading the Roman clash between Germanic tribes and the Romans on the seas near the British Isles, north of Germany. How come you can still find boats to substantiate those battles? But you can't find the slave ships. And this was 2,000 years ago.
Damn.
Come on. You can still find Roman swords and shields and everything, and shoes, because I put that on my Facebook, the Roman shoes from 2,000 years ago. But you can't find a slave ship.
They got Viking armor. They got fucking samurai armor. They got all types of shit that old, but no slave ship.
I even looked up, because the Romans were describing the Germanic tribes wearing a cloak and nothing else. So I said, let me see if I could find a cloak. Found an authentic Germanic tribe cloak, but no slave ship. A cloak. What should be easier to find, a slave ship or a cloak?
I'm guessing a slave ship because it's made out of materials that should last long. A cloak couldn't last thousands of years like that because clothes deteriorate over time.
Right, but we find it. If you go on my Facebook, you see those Roman shoes. Because the reason why I looked them up is because I was reading about their battles from their perspective. So I was like, damn, you got your shield, sword, stuff to cover your shins. I was thinking about the feet. I was like, damn, how do you protect the feet? So I had to look them up, and they had some shoes to protect the feet. So,
okay, we'll let this play for a bit.
Going to be what's called the Clovis Folsom people. Clovis Folsom are going to be found in Clovis Folsom, New Mexico. McJunker, African American, who was an archaeologist, anthropologist, found these bones.
Ruins, Burroughs Cave in Peoria, Illinois. They found that cave to have inscriptions. There were steles inside of the cave that had ancient Kemetic inscriptions.
So, if you can't see, it's a depiction of a person with a Nefertiti style hat on a piece of rock, and you can tell this shit is probably fake.
Let me see that. Try to get that clearer. Once they start talking that Kemetic shit, that's when I get concerned, man.
It's a Steeler. Can you kind of see it?
A little bit. I think I heard, people said there were hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon and stuff like that.
Hebrew writings and stuff like that.
To me, I got to see more than a trace of evidence. Because you see all the stuff in ancient Egypt, they said, most of that shit ain't even uncovered yet. So I got to see more than a trace. I got to see enough to convince me.
Exactly. And some of these, they don't look convincing because it looks fabricated, like somebody carved the Egyptian style thing into a rock and just put it in a cave and say, hey, look, I found something. Just like they have some fabricated artworks in ancient Egypt, like that Nefertiti bust.
Right.
Some of them statues or whatever that they made in Egypt, some of that shit is fake.
Yeah, you see that thing on Facebook? Somebody had that famous picture of that famous wooden that one they call the Sheikh in Egypt with the blue eyes, the fat guy.
Yeah.
And they said,
he high yellow, right? They got him
Yeah.
extra yellow.
And they said
or
this is
pink.
how they trick you. They show you from a different perspective, but they don't show you. They show you unpainted, and they don't show you the hair. And once you see that, then you say, "Oh, now he's black."
But anyway, we'll continue.
Dialect, Hebrew dialect on some of the steles.
Dr. David Imhotep has done tons of studying on this subject. He even wrote a book called The First Americans Were Africans. And basically, he has found tons of findings on this exact subject matter. There are Egyptian writings throughout the Americas. There's evidence of artifacts and
Now this shit don't even look Egyptian. It looks like Australian Aboriginal
Egyptian
stuff.
writings
Right.
in the Grand Canyon.
We see that there is evidence that there were Black people in Africa, and even going back to ancient Kemet, trading with the Aboriginal people here in the Americas. In ancient Kemet, they would come over here and they would trade medicine. They found that there are mummies from ancient Kemet that had traces of cocaine in their system. The reason why they would use cocaine was for medicinal purposes, for anesthesia, things of that nature. But cocaine is not found anywhere in Africa. Cocaine is not found anywhere.
Now we know why they got cocaine on them, because archaeologists was doing, drugs around these damn things. So that's how that got there.
I wouldn't be
Because if
shocked
that
because
was the
it was
case,
big back then.
wouldn't they plant cocaine plants all throughout West Africa, North Africa, all the way up to Kemet?
Right. And if he's trying to say that, cocaine, obviously, I don't even know if cocaine itself existed back then. Because I think cocaine itself is a relatively new formula. Coca leaves go back, but cocaine.
Leaves, yeah, they use coca leaves for medicinal purposes in the Mayan and Aztec and Incan cultures for like hallucinations and rituals and anesthetic.
Because modern cocaine, that involves a lot of different chemical processes going on.
Yeah. So we already know how cocaine got onto these mummies, and it's not via some Atlantis theory. It's because these individuals were doing drugs around these mummies and even like cannibalizing them as aphrodisiacs and quack medicines.
Yeah, and in the 1920s, cocaine was nothing to be ashamed of, back in those days.
They was drinking it in a soda, Coca-Cola.
Right.
It was one of the main ingredients.
I wonder which sold better back. Well, I think they did. When Coca-Cola did have Coke, I don't think they had alcohol wasn't legal back then, huh?
No, it was prohibition.
Guess that's why Coke is it.
The Eastern world, cocaine is really found here in South America, Peru, Colombia, places like that. So them finding cocaine in the ancient mummies over in Kemet is more proof that there was contact between the two societies.
You have Esmeralda and Guayaquil and other communities in Ecuador. You've got Cauca, you've got the Pacific Coast, Choco, you've got that for Colombia where the people had their own communities. You had Panamanians had their own kingdoms, Black, as early as the 1520s.
There's so much evidence that proves that there were Black people in the Americas centuries before Columbus. You have the artifacts, you have the Olmec statues that's down in Central America. You have so many eyewitness accounts that prove that Black people were here in the Americas centuries before Columbus. When Columbus came here, there's a reason why he brought a lot of Black translators with him, because they understood in Spain that there were Black people here in the Americas exploring, doing trade with the Aboriginal people here. And also the Aboriginal people of the Americas were originally Black. The Black Aboriginal people were here before the Red Mongolian Native Americans. So Black people have always had a presence in the Americas.
For 1 second.
You also
see now when he says he brought Moors along because there was a trade and communication between Moors and the Americans, Black Americans. See, here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Moors got defeated in Spain, if they're number one, I haven't heard Spain or Portugal even first of all, Portugal didn't even try to set sail to the Atlantic. That's number one. They broke away first. Spain did. So maybe if you want to use a string, you could say maybe the Moors told Spain about it and then they went to the Americas. But besides that, there should have been some type of, I don't want to say imperial contact, but some established networks between the Americas and the Moors that by the time Spain was breaking them down, or the Germanic tribes were breaking them down in Spain, they could have had some reinforcements come from the Americas or something. Or something established that by the time Spain got to the Americas, everything should have been strong and established to beat them back, like a Moorish empire, at least, you know?
Yep.
A German, Russian, European painter, I believe he was, Louis Koritz. He went out to the San Francisco, the Bay Area, and he painted the natives out there. And he depicts all of them as jet black, the blackest of black.
There's a white archaeologist historian named Alexander von Wudenau. He moved from Germany down to Mexico. Von Wudenau was one of the few white men who would tell the truth about the things he would find. He found that there were so many artifacts with Africoid and Negroid faces on ancient monuments and figurines down there in Central America and here in North America as well. He wrote a book called Unexpected Faces in Americas. And in his book, he documented all of these private collections of figurines of Black people that date back thousands of years here in the Americas.
The third is the Algonquin, still African, but now you have a touch of a people that were impacted by the Ice Age, but they're still an African people. Now, the fourth is going to be the Inuit, derogatorily called Eskimo. And these are the people that are going to be more in the Canadian area, the North American area. And then the last migration is going to be what we call
this is a professor,
Mongoloid invasion, who are Asians who are escaping from the Genghis Khan and others who are invading. They're pushing them down through Asia into the American continent.
Where is he getting this information from? Because there was no migration from the Genghis Khan period to North America like that.
And he's talking about the Canadian, North American area. Like, it's trying to sound smart, man. Now, with the Mongols, technically, at least as far as the empire they had, I mean, technically they could have crossed over, but from what I know about their empire, they didn't make it past Japan.
Oh yeah, because they got a whole video game out there called Ghost of Tsushima about that shit. How they was trying to take up like even Japan, what they
got
failed.
stopped by a storm. Yeah, the storm stopped them. But they had a whole lot. They had a whole lot of shit. Their empire. That was crazy.
Like they captured like Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
They got North Africa because of the Moors and the Ottoman Turks, because they basically Mongols. They took up over all of Asia, basically.
Mesopotamia, obviously Turkey. Like you said, most of Eastern Europe, basically where Russia is at right now.
Yep. Shoot.
The 5 migrations, but the first 3 are deeply embedded in the African tradition. The first migrations did not come via the Bering Strait. The first migrations came directly from Africa. Not just that, there's probably very good chance that the first human beings that populated this planet populated Brazil. Because when the Africans left the west coast of Southern Africa, where you have Northwest Africa, Namibia, you have a number of countries where they would have migrated, they would have gone on what's called the Benguela Current. And that Benguela Current, along with the wind system, would have brought them directly into what we today call the Amazon River.
So
how the hell would they do that? Are you talking about the transatlantic slave migration, or where did he get this shit from?
Yeah, he kind of mixed things up. First he said Northwest Africa, then he said Namibia. I'm like, what this is a professor?
Supposedly, historian and activist and a teacher, master teacher.
I think he teaches at a SUNY college in New York.
For real?
That's what he said he did. When I first heard of him, like when I first seen most of these people, they were always doing lectures in little restaurants or I first saw him do a lecture in looked like a dingy basement with pipes, and I used to say to myself, "Where are these people doing these things at? How do they get these
Venues.
stores? Yeah, these venues."
I don't know, the same way Umar Johnson keep getting platforms.
Tarka
I'm the
Bay
most
supposed to
respected scholar around the country and around
yeah,
the globe.
yeah, I don't see how he still gets some. Tarka Bay is supposed to have one tonight in Detroit, trying to make a lecture. Yes, another guy he's trying to ask for money to talk about. Oh man, if everybody, I got 6,000 people that watch in a few days. If everybody gave $1, I could pay for this lawsuit. That's that young Pharaoh move, because nobody asked you to sue, and you ain't giving nobody no money if you win.
It's like the Samuel Loomis skit off of In Living Color.
Yeah.
Journals himself, he talks about talking with African seafarers who tell him of a current that they call Little River, and that if he caught this current off the west coast of Africa, it would take him to a new world. So we have evidence that Africans were coming to the Americas long before Christopher Columbus.
We've always been told that America was named after European explorer Amerigo Vespucci, but there's evidence to suggest that variations of the name America existed way before European contact.
The name was Alberigo, and up until 1505, his name is Alberigo. But we find that he's writing letters to people and he's introducing these concepts, such as the mountains, Amerisques, that's located in Nicaragua. There are an African group of people known as the Mesquito, who are the ancient peoples of this area. The same migrations that's coming to this part of the world, these are the people that are here now. They form them.
Why is he claiming the mosquito to be African when these are indigenous Americans?
You know, they got their angle. The funny part about this whole discussion between characters like this guy is, not long ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, none of these people were talking this talk.
Yep.
It was strictly African stuff. No African to the Americas or nothing. And we were African. They weren't talking this talk. So that goes to show that the impact that everybody has had to change these people's minds. Because the fact that they have to force change the rhetoric that they were talking goes to show that other people are more convincing than they are at their thing. So we could, whoever you want to credit that to, Dane Calloway, whoever, yourself, they had obviously paid attention, because if the shit were not true, they wouldn't have changed their ways and changed what they were talking about.
Yep. And then they try and bully people from like talking about their indigenous roots. They want you to strictly say, oh, don't claim Indianness because the Native Americans don't want you claiming that.
The way this guy right here used to dress, I used to think he was trying to, I thought he was trying to say that he was a Moor, because he used to wear the bandana on his head with the earrings. Yep.
And if you notice, he wearing an old medallion and a Pan-African old jacket or whatever the fuck that shit is.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see that on the screen, but
yeah, I can't show the dang thing clearly because, you know, copyright.
Into the Mosquito.
Americua meant land of the great winds. And you know, everywhere you go, you see hurricanes and tornadoes. Well,
our people, the Autochthonous people, called it the land of the great winds. But
Okay,
it was the,
who said it was the land of the great winds? Because there's multiple tribes that say that it's Niji, it's Melaki, Melayi, all types of stuff. But I don't know where this guy is getting this information from. It sounds like he got it off of some random social media person that said this.
I know he's down with Top Cats. Top Cat said that Phil Valentine had christened him as the next generation. That's what made me start saying to myself, what's up with Top Cats? And why would a Phil Valentine christen you as the next generation when Phil Valentine wasn't talking this kind of talk?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and then after that, Top Cat started wearing those, I guess you call them kufi type of hats. And I'm like, man.
When he started coming into the community, he was wearing this Arabic garb and stuff like that. Going to Dubai and Egypt and stuff.
Which one?
Top Cats.
Oh, okay. So that goes to show that's why I've been getting suspicious of him. Because I said those hats, man, they're not indigenous hats. Those are, I hate to say it, Masonic Nation of Islam style hats. Gotta say it, gotta call it out. And when you're dealing with a proven liar like Phil Valentine, that guy's been a proven liar. Once he said that Obama, Malcolm X is Obama's son, and that shit didn't come to pass. That's why I said this guy's a wacko.
Yep. And on top of that, he's not a black man, as Psycho would say.
Right. And he's a tether, as Tariq would say. But see, Tariq has all these tethers in his videos.
Yep.
That goes to show he's not real with that.
His brother-in-law is a white Hispanic tether.
Right. And when somebody came on his show trying to talk about that, obviously he started using that mute button and cutting them off. He didn't want that out there.
My wife is a foundation of Black American. She's not Haitian. Why does nigga keep denying denial plausibility, whatever that word is? But
I mean, you can easily see his wife's mother, his wife's father, clearly does not look like a Black American. and another thing I said too that you notice about Tariq Nasheed, the way he pronounces Portuguese. I find that to be very, very unusual. How do you say it? How do you normally say it?
Huh? He said Portuguese. It's Portuguese, nigga.
See, that's how we normally say it, Portuguese. But he says Portuguese. That sounds like a man who speaks a different language, Latin-related language.
Yeah.
And that would be the Haitian Creole, like people have been saying. That's his giveaway right there. And be on the lookout for him changing the way he pronounces Portuguese in the future.
And notice he doesn't promote genealogy, because if people dug up his genealogy, his whole house of cards would fall.
The best he says is people know who I am, but of course nobody does.
Nobody, not even his loyal subjects know who the fuck he is. We'll continue.
I also talked about how at the Smithsonian, they went out of their way to hide a lot of the Black monuments and figurines so that the public wouldn't know about it.
How they hiding shit if they got this book?
Games that went on with
How are they hiding if they put out this book in a fucking library? Indivisible, African and Native American lives in the Americas. And they even go after the major Native American scholar Gabriel Hapslip Vera and call him out on his racist mestizo talk. But they're not hiding this shit. They even came out with the Bureau of American Ethnology and stated that the blood of the Southern Negro is unquestionably Indian. So how the fuck is the Smithsonian hiding something from them? It's this kooky Egyptologist stuff, I tell you.
Yeah, he got to try to figure out some way to sell his stuff. Everything is hidden with him, but he's the one who found it.
Well, white supremacy blatantly admits that we are American Indian. They do it in their movies all the time. Like, what's that Sammy Davis Jr. movie or Daniel Boone? That's the one thing that they'll admit to Black Americans over their heads, but niggas don't catch on.
Yeah, you know what, man? I was watching the movie today. Coincidentally, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and this one was from 1967. What struck my mind, number one, they had the wrong type of guy playing Al Capone. He didn't even look like him, and he was too old.
Did they have was it the one with who played Venom?
Nah, this is from 1967.
Oh, okay. I thought this shit was that modern one where it made him look retarded.
And they said everything that was presented in the movie was true, based on actual facts, not made up stuff. So, what caught my eyes, they had Al Capone's, I think it was his bodyguard or driver, Nick Sorello. Now, I looked him up. He didn't really look like the guy in the movie, but first thing I said, man, this guy looks black. I said, man, I didn't know they would have a black guy playing an Italian in a 1967 movie. And I looked the guy up, and sure enough, the guy was black. I just thought that was strange, but there was one scene with him in it. And I said, this is how Hollywood likes playing these guys. They had him get checked at the door for guns, right? And then he said, oh, I see this gun. Oh, you got a gun on you. He's like, oh, you're a brave boy, aren't you? I said, see, with that line, you see how that guy's supposed to be Italian, but they have him calling him a boy in the movie. That's how they get slick. All right, I'm done.
And to hiding the black presence in the Americas.
You have a painter who comes down here by the name of P.G.F. Van Ryn, and he comes down to Georgia in 1736, and he paints the Yuchi people. He's actually a refugee in their tribe, okay? And he paints these people, the supreme commander, the chief, and all of these are jet black people. All of them are jet black people. So we see this literary evidence all over as well. Actually, you can go to the Smithsonian. They had a discovery in about, what was this, around 1939 in the Smithsonian. They published an article talking about how they found Negroid skeletons in what is now the U.S. Virgin Islands or the West Indies. Okay, this is 200 years again before Columbus. So we see this evidence all over.
In Spain, for 700 years, you had black people called the Moors who dominated Spain and southern Europe for that matter. And they brought a lot of culture. They brought a lot of knowledge and learning and enlightenment to that area.
Yes, that's that cheap costumes right there. Got them looking like you're looking like Yahweh Ben Yahweh people. My man don't like spending money. I'll tell you.
Son of a bitch! You mentioned the white supremacists. How can there be white supremacists at that time frame?
Right, they had to been supreme first, you know.
And so far from what I heard, what all of this got to do with FBA history?
That's true.
You over here tethering off of Caribbean skeletons. You're tethering off of Moors. You're bringing up Paleo Indian skulls and bringing up Mbuti Twa people. Why aren't you talking about FBA shit and what pertains to Negroes in the United States?
Right, because everything he's spoken of thus far is really kind of negated FBA. And he's saying all the black people came from someplace else, except for a few who were here. But all these black people keep coming back and forth. Matter of fact, he's even saying that the other black people originally came here first to make black people who were already here, then mix in with other Africans later on.
What the hell is that shit? Because that does not make any sense genetically, because bottlenecks, nigga, you get cut off at the centuries of being away from Africa, you would no longer be considered one of them people.
And
And
that's
why
where he
are you
comes in with that.
attaching indigenous tribes, hunter-gatherer, Bantu tribes in sub-Saharan Africa to people in the ancient times?
That's where he comes in with that ethnogenesis BS that he made up. But that's when Meatball. But that's why I said Meatball came up with that shit first, though. He did. Now I know for sure he watches Meatball's videos because he actually did a video and he was playing Meatball's videos on one of his videos.
Because I recall Meatball saying soul culture, soul people.
Right.
Why do you think Tariq Nasheed refrained from saying soul?
So he can
What is this
trademark.
Majora shit?
So he can trademark that shit and control it and sell products off of it.
So he's saying he's not a leader, but he's actually influencing people through his own leadership and saying that, oh, you should buy this Majora thing. Oh, he also stole the Tut language shit from off of Gloria McLowan.
I never hear him say anything else except to say and upper Tuesday, whatever that is. Never saying nothing else.
That all slaves spoke that language when they didn't. You have people such in this book. You got Patrick Mingus, Black Indian Slave Narratives. For those who haven't heard of this book, you got an individual in this memoirs talking about random people that have Black Native history, and they try and they admit that these people spoke fluent Indigenous American languages. But I'd like to invite up the Indigenous one, Kerry Davis, and see what his insights are. What's going on?
All right, man. How you doing?
What up?
I'm just joining, man. I just came in 2 seconds ago. What's going on?
Well, we're reviewing Tariq Nasheed's American Maroon documentary. If you just now came into the room, we're exposing some of the information that they're talking about because it doesn't make sense and they're causing confusion for newcomers in this paradigm and for those that are searching for their genealogical ancestry.
Dude, isn't that what those cats are for? To cause confusion, to take information that they know nothing about and to confuse it even more and give it to everybody else? That's their job. I mean, and dude, you shouldn't even waste your time on those cats, man, because what are they doing? They're just sending people down the wrong hole, man. That's what all these cats do, man. They don't tell you about their families. They don't tell you where their families are from. They don't tell you the diamonds, not the diamonds, but the resources that are around the place where their people are from. They don't tell you nothing. They just get everybody to say, oh, I'm Choctaw. Oh, I'm this. They're not sharing nothing. I don't understand why they get the play that they do. You know, so I don't follow those cats, man. And you know, the young people that are putting information out, you know, viable information that people can follow and get with, and where a person can really see who themselves are. You know, that's what I'm about, man. All this this nonsense, I just let them have it, man. Tariq Nasheed, wasn't he an African before? He'll what, a pro-black now or foundation? I mean, damn, ain't he confusing?
Yeah, from what I've noticed, he did a Afrocentric series of Hidden Colors films. Then he grifted onto the Haitian 1804 documentary, trying to push Black Americans to build up Haiti and to make projects over there and schools for those people. And then all of a sudden he saw the momentum of African Americans ain't African and influencers out there from the group that was sharing the indigenous paradigm, and he decided to like cash in onto it and not credit people for where credit's due. It's still in memes and stuff that was reposted on the Pinterest.
Yeah, man, that's what those cats doing. And as we go along, as we move forward, you can see what's happening in the world. And these guys are not giving people nothing that they can check into to show that they're a part of this, that they're part of the Americas. They're
Mm,
just black pieces of block. They don't
yeah.
know nothing. They're not giving nothing, especially if these cats got children. Where are they sending their children to? So no, man, I don't listen to these cats, man. It's other things I'm trying to find out. I have a cousin whose mother's from Louisiana.
Mm,
I'm asking her, what do you know about that part of the world before the Louisiana Purchase? And she's 60 years old, a major in the army, and she don't know. I mean, should you never been over to the Louvre Museum in Paris to find out? This is the kind of stuff that we don't do. People like the guy you brought up, they don't do. We don't get information that we can learn from. We only get bullshit, man.
mm. And he didn't look towards like different people that know things. Like he didn't go to Black American Indians that are federally recognized that can help out. He didn't go to people that presented this information in the first place. He didn't even go to these Mongol style Native Americans to ask them their insights on what happened. He's just using the same individuals from the Sinetta crew or whatever to disperse this information, and they don't know too much of anything.
So this is one of the things I asked the so-called black federally recognized. How do you look going to people who took your people's land, dogged your people out, flooded out where your people are from? What kind of asshole do you look like going to beg them for recognition? See
Mm-hmm.
little things like that. We don't even get. We don't understand. We get mad when we hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You beat my ass. I come to you and say, can you recognize me? What do I look like? And what do I look like teaching other people anything? This is where the so-called black African American is. They don't, they don't even come up with questions themselves. And that's really the main part. What do you say? And when we don't know, don't say nothing. We just wait for somebody to tell us something so we can go do it. Basically, what black African Americans do.
Mm.
They don't figure out things for themselves. They don't have aha moments. They don't ask their grandparents or their kins or people where their people are from. They don't go down there and do some research down there. They don't go down there and look at the churches and see if their people's name are on buildings and stuff. They never bring up what do they call those primitive Baptist churches? You never hear us talking about that. You never hear black African Americans talking about the spiritual system of America before the Spanish bought Catholicism or the English and German bought Christianity. We don't think about stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
They double down on the uh, Hebrew Israelite or the
You, you
Christian.
know, how dumb do we look? And that's not the problem. The problem is all the people that follow them.
Mm.
So that's the problem. That's why we just incrementally. So you see in all these people keep saying, oh, people waking up to the indigenous now. No, they're just waking up. They're seeing the images, but who are you? Who are you? Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw. That's only a couple. There's
Mm-hmm.
millions of cities and towns with your people's name on it. We don't even go look at that and
Mm-hmm.
pass by it every day.
Heck, and they like to take the DNA test stuff, but what they class our specific ethnic groups, they class it under African diaspora, but they'll give you indigenous names in that classification in the counties where they are at, and they don't look and see and say, Hey, it said I'm Yadkin PD. Who are the Yadkin PD people?
Man,
Who are the Gullah Geechee? Because they try and Africanize those people and they got an indigenous name.
well, if you just, I mean, isn't the Ogeechee River, shouldn't that tell you something to the Black African American? That passed right by their head. Big ass river going down South Carolina and Georgia called Ogeechee. You don't get nothing out of that? No.
Mhm.
So this is what I'm saying, man.
Tuskegee.
Huh?
You got a whole college named after indigenous Muskogean tribe called Tuskegee University or the Tuskegee Airmen.
Dude, the information is out there. So I just tell people, what do you say? Who are your people? Where did your people come from? And these Christians that's coming up trying to say that they Indians. I'm like, well, tell us the spiritual practices of your people before the Christians got here. They don't know.
They can't mention a
Shouldn't you know
god
that?
they worship. They can't mention a spiritual system that they was practicing. Some of them people retained like aspects of it, like the hoodoo stuff, and they still use it with alongside their Christianity practices. But they don't teach the younger generation on how to use it. And plus, most of these people are using their hoodoo religion to do nefarious, corrupt things with them.
Well, they can only do nefarious, corrupt things because they're getting it from somebody else. Who says that's yours anyway? And that's what I'm saying. We don't study the French, what they were doing over France. We don't study the Germans, what they were doing over in Germany before they got here. Were those their practices? We don't know. And quite frankly, don't give a damn. Everything, everything that the Negro knows, somebody else told them. They don't even go within themselves and ask themselves questions.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority, I say 90%, don't question nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't question nothing. But look, man, I seen that you sent me this about an hour ago. I was at work, but I wanted to come in and chat up with you, man.
But we're gonna play the video, and we love to hear your insights on what these individuals say within the thing, because they really don't know anything about this history, and they're just going off the dome and freestyling.
All right.
All right.
Their continent. So they had the Reconquista.
We were always qualified by the description from the European. So you would be a Moor, which came from the Greeks Maur. And of course, we adopted that name, Moor. It was a descriptive adjective. It was not who we were. That's why it was always qualified with, say, Ubayd Moor or the Chickasaw Moor. Okay? We were robbed of our definition of who we were, which is our nationality and our tribe.
He's not even one of us.
From someone else's eyes.
When the Europeans
talking about we.
Why would he use the term Moor to describe the indigenous inhabitants over here? Because they use various terms that should not be used when identifying as an indigenous person here. They use autochthonous, which I heard that word come up out of A4, which was when I first heard about your videos, Carrie. And they also use the term aboriginal and copper-colored Moor. And is that what A4 was trying to get off of with this Moorish stuff? Because it seems like they're mixing the dope when it comes to this indigenous information. What are your thoughts?
Listen, when these people came over here, did you introduce yourself as Moor? Did you introduce yourself as Black? Did you introduce yourself as African American? Did you introduce yourself as Aboriginal? Did you introduce yourself as Indian? Did you say your kin and your family, were they tribes? These are terms that other people called you. And like the dude said, you adopted it and took it on for yourself. What did you say you were? When you asked the average Negro that, I don't know. We don't know. All we know is what we're told. That's 95% of us. What did your people call themselves?
And then when
Earth,
I
wind, and
ask
fire.
these
I told you
people,
it's written in a stone. It's still, you pass by it every day and ignore it. So no, dude, I don't listen to these cats, man, because they keep you in the same spot. Matter of fact, they're walking you backwards.
Right.
They're
And they,
walking.
and they
So
keep walking you back into the slave chains too. That's they keep
well,
trying to.
no, you didn't really leave the slave chains. They
Well, I
walking
mean,
you.
they want to keep reminding us of that all the time. You know.
Yeah. So here's this one more. He got pissed off because dude, I got you guys figured out already. So what's the name of the brothers? Oh, the brothers in Arkansas that the Moors call themselves Washita. There's some Washita Indians up in the mountains and the hills of Arkansas, and it's called they're not called Washita, they're
as in
Washita.
Washington,
No,
as the
Washita.
saying goes.
See the dialect that you use in these words. We use the dialect that other people give us. We don't go by how the people pronounce it. That's how you know these niggas lying. You don't. These people didn't talk the language that you talk in English. People think this comes from English. This is not how those people talked. All you have to. There you go. Washita. You are, and maybe the people up in Arkansas pronounce it different. And this is what I'm saying. We don't. This is simple shit. We should know, and we don't. We just keep on and pass this information on to your kids. They pass it on to your kids. They pass it on to the, and when you come back, this is what you fall right into.
Yep. Helped by these what I call control agents out here.
Somebody just was telling me about that tonight. Gatekeepers.
Yep.
Gatekeeper.
And it's Phil Valentine. He's a Caribbean and half white.
I mean, yes. I mean, hey, a lot of how many minds you think he got?
From what he's been saying over the years, quite a few.
At the same time he was out doing lectures and stuff in the 90s. And I remember he used to come to Los Angeles and get these, and, never was really interested in him. But it also used to be two cats that made a lot of sense. One name was Bobby Hemmett. And what Bobby Hemmett made sense of, he would go back and read what these cats wrote and tell us what they wrote and what we were thinking or what they were thinking. Made a lot of sense to what they were saying, because he was just showing you they was demons. And the other was Steve Coakley. And Steve Coakley just came with it.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Yeah, he came with it.
He seemed to be the only one, really.
He was one of the only one. And I met this cat, and I went, because what I do when I hear stuff, I go sit at the people's feet and listen to them. I don't go, Tehran, what did so and so say? I go ask so and so myself. And one cat I did that with was a cat named, he was the guy that talked about metaphysics a lot, Delbert Blair. You remember him?
Yeah.
Delbert Blair. Met with Delbert Blair. I said, I'm going to be in Chicago. Can I come visit? He said, yeah, sure. This cat was a millionaire. Just selling his little knickknacks and trinkets and stuff. And
I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
You said what?
I said, I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Oh man, a lot of these cats is Masons. A lot of these groups that we get into, they support. It's like a church. Yeah. They're supportive. They'll take up a love offering for a person to help them that's how they do it. Which is how we used to do, but we don't believe in that no more. We just do get by the best way we can. These people took all your arts, took all the things you used to do, your language, everything, and turned it against you. Well, we basically turned it against ourselves because remember, and this is why I keep saying, when we say they did that to us, we sound like little bitches because we did it to ourselves. Half went to go fight with the French, half went to go fight with the Spanish, half went to go fight with the English, with each other. That we never talk about that. We never talk about that. We never talk about, well, who weapons did we use? And who weapons are we using now to wipe each other out? See, we don't want to talk about that because we realize how dumb we look. So you done left the South, you done went to LA, Chicago, New York, and turned the weapons on yourselves and start wiping yourselves out, making it easier for the immigrants to come over to replace you. Amen.
That's true. But you know what though? A fascinating thing is some of the most violent cities in the country are the southern cities. Memphis, Atlanta,
Well, it doesn't matter.
New Orleans.
The whole thing is people came over here to take your shit, but you're killing each other out. Explain. And when
I can explain part of that. Some of these Caribbeans been masquerading as us.
Shouldn't well see that's another thing. You when these cats put imaginary lines in the ground, there's no different from South America and North America. It's just called the Americas. Guess what we say? No, not I know they told you this, but we ain't figured it out yet. You haven't you haven't went back and did genealogy on your family, where your families as late as the 1800s was going down to the Caribbean. We don't do that. We do what other people say. Well, the haplogroup CWR. That's the kind of shit we do. We don't go look at our great grandfathers, our great grand. We don't look at what they did. We take what other people say, we suck, swallow, and beg for another load. That's how African America moves.
And I have to agree because none of these Negroes are in these institutions forming the hypothesis or scientific studies or whatever. It's just people regurgitating whatever some Eurocentric in a lab says.
Look, man. So this is what I mean. What you say. Anybody who's been down to the Caribbean will tell you that the Caribbean, all those islands are actually atop of mountains. Because if you're down in the Caribbean and you have to do this in the Caribbean because it's one of the main things they do down there, because there's really nothing to do down there because they've decimated those islands. You take a glass bottom boat trip. When you take a glass bottom boat trip, you can see how all the islands are connected. If the water level dropped, you can look at the Gulf of Mexico and see it's a perfect circle. What happened to that land? We don't question shit like that. We just sit and wait for people to tell us what's going on. Right? Where is North America and South America? Where is that split? How is that two separate continents?
I would say the same with Africa, Europe, and Asia. How are those separate continents?
Especially Europe and Asia.
Africa too.
Because you can walk into the Middle East from Africa.
I drove from Israel to Egypt. We don't know. We only know what we're told, dude. Nothing else.
Well, we know what the white man tells us. He tells us Europe is a continent. After he took it over, then we accept it because that's what they say, and nobody else disputes it. Even though Russia is a part of Europe, but look what it rules. Most of Asia.
If you go to Russia, you will see that most of those people look Asian.
Right.
You know, and I'm saying, man, we I don't know what year this is, but we are too
2025
damn.
or whatever they say, but
We
it's
are,
not
yeah, that's
really.
what they say. But what? So you think when they got here, the people were saying it's 1692? They weren't. And this is what I'm saying. All we know is what they tell us. We don't question ourselves. You ask yourself a question, yourself, not your physical body, because you're not your physical body. You're that, your physical body is just the avatar. You're in there making your heart beat, sucking in oxygen, making sure you got to shed and piss and all. That's you in there. That's you. We think I'm my cheekbone, I'm my ears, I'm my chest, I'm my ass, I'm my dick.
Mhm.
That's that. Ugh. That's where the Negro is, man. Don't even think nothing outside of it through their whole life. Don't know. Don't don't realize that they have thoughts. Don't thoughts come across your mind that you never thought about? The average Negro say, "My head hurt. If I think my head hurt." That's what the average nigga says, and will get mad if you bring it to remind him of it. When you ask the average Negro, what were the spiritual practices of the people here in America? What are the stories? They don't know. You don't know the spiritual practice of the people in the Mississippi area?
Heck, they even know it by like what they call African. You know how they Africanize our folk tales like Brer Rabbit, uh, Follow the Drinking Gourd. These are basic indigenous stories that they put an African coding on. Like Brer Rabbit is basically coyote. Damn, it's that simple.
Well, all I know is with the African American black, they're going to be where they are for the next 1,000 years. They don't, brother. They're not into thinking. They're comfortable with where they're at. They're comfortable taking orders from other people. They're comfortable. I was talking to a cat 100 years old, and when we started talking about America when he was a kid, tears just started streaming from his eyes. He said, "You should have seen this place in the 1920s."
I don't know if I want to be alive back then.
It, wa-
Sounded like
it,
some
it,
rough
it, it,
times.
it, no, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. And this is what I mean. We only take their stories. We
Mm.
don't. What were you? You had over 100 hospitals in the South. What happened? What were your schools like before the DuPonts and the Rockefellers bought them? Before those people, so we don't ask those questions. We see something wrong, but we don't ask no questions. I guess that's how it was, boss. We don't question nothing. We don't ask, well, how are you building schools in the early 1800s? Native Americans weren't building. We don't question nothing. Whatever
Mm.
they tell us, yes, boss, and we go on about our business.
We don't really know how they were living in the 1920s because they gloss over that and they show us like these cities that were bombed, such as Tulsa, Oklahoma, Lake Lanier. Now that's a black uh, civilization that they don't want to get out because they basically ran those people up out of there and they just put townhomes
You,
on a
you,
lake.
this is what I mean. How we only do what we're told. If I hear that, statement one more time, man, we have Black Wall Street. You
Mhm.
idiot. You're the one. They didn't bring money over here. You already have it. That's why you're on it. All throughout the all throughout the South when they got here. You're on the money. Explain. Huh?
Mhm.
You lying. And then those dollars you then we don't understand how the baggers came down and took over the money. We don't know. And then when you tell people that, The first thing they doing, since they don't know, you lying. Then when you show them, now they go off talking to themselves. We don't know. And then we started Black Wall Street. Huh? Why are you taking something that you created and huh? Black means dead, stupid. Man, the average nigga don't even know that.
They're still holding on to that color.
And when I say average meaning people who still celebrate New Year's in the dead of winter.
Celebrating Valentine's Day and Black History Month and St. Patrick's Day.
Look, this is going on today, man. So look, man, I love to stay, man, but I gotta run.
All right, well, we're gonna continue playing this. I hope you're listening on it, though.
Yes, man. Hey, yeah, just send me your stuff, man. I'll come support, dude.
All right.
All right, brother. All right, Alquan, man. You take care, dude.
All right, brother.
All right, now.
They have some very interesting depictions of the people they saw here.
Hey, Tyron, before you play that, real quick. You know what I was just thinking, speaking of life 100 years ago, remember I was telling you about that St. Valentine's Day massacre?
Yeah.
That was 100 years ago. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't all that great.
I was just watching that hoodlum movie the other day with Bumpy Johnson. Yeah, that shit was fucked up, dude. They had like two niggas with damn pickaxes coming up in people's houses and shit and murdering people.
Damn. I guess Al Capone really did beat those two guys with bats because I was in The Untouchables and it was in this movie too. So I guess he must have really done that. But they said he was born in Italy, but I couldn't find that he was born in Italy. They said he came from Brooklyn, not Italy. His parents came out of Italy. But and apparently the other gang, that was Irish and German. Crazy. But that was crazy times, man. Crazy times.
Well, anyway, let's continue watching.
People they saw in Africa, and they compared them to the Moors who occupied Spain.
They also spoke specifically of, the characteristics of the people that they encountered. They described them, very thoroughly. They said that they were melanated. They said they had more.
Hold on, wait.
And of course, we adopted that name more. It was a descriptive adjective.
They show red pill and blue pill actual government name up on there.
Or the Chickasaw.
They do?
Okay.
Yeah.
We were.
What's the name?
Hold on, I gotta go back to where they was talking.
Which is our nationality and our tribe. And we fell into the description of what we were from someone else's eyes.
Now I could agree that maybe, Spain coming over here after having gone through the Moors and probably said, okay, well, these people remind me of the Moors. So they call them Moors because of that. But other than that,
outside of that, they were arguing through the Portuguese, like Norbanga and these friars and stuff like that from documentation out of this Jack D. Forrest book. They were arguing with rather calling them Indians white, olive color, or black. So that's the whole gist of that. But in their meaning of the word Negro back then, it meant servitude. They were trying to call their slaves Negroes.
Yeah, that can make sense. Try to, I guess you could say, dehumanize them and take them away from a heritage.
Yeah.
Because they had some very interesting depictions of the people they saw here. And they often compared them to the people they saw in Africa, and they compared them to the Moors who occupied Spain.
They also spoke specifically.
So it's Phil Moreland. Yeah, they're Paul and Phil Moreland.
Moreland, huh? Okay.
I wonder where they get those names from.
Well, if you saw, I think this guy, there was this other guy who taught about Moorish stuff. I think his name was Pimenta Bay. You ever heard of him? Light-skinned dude, he might be Puerto Rican, I think. He did break down real Moorish thoroughly, but that Bay part, you know what that means.
Of,
the characteristics of the people that they encountered. They
Right.
they
And
described
keep
them.
in mind, these is Turtle Gang's buds.
No.
Yeah, that's when I first saw him debut on YouTube. He was over here doing interviews with these two.
And when did this come out?
This came out like 2023.
See, it goes to show that he wasn't on that FBA stuff like that because I'm sure he made this before that.
Yeah,
And
2022 or 2021. This
it's
is
all
when he started using Johnny Aborigines meme, using Young
okay.
Noble stuff, and using Phoenix Moon stuff.
See, he jumped on the bandwagon, but he had all the I Caribbean in here.
Yep.
So he has to explain that. What's that have to do with FBA? These are
Boy,
supposed to be the
he cool with
tethers.
Sinetta too, remember? He said he
Yep.
cool with Sinetta, and Sinetta ain't even a FBA. He a whole
Dominican.
Dominican. And he's grifting too. He said that he a DNA Native American on his daddy's side. He was also cussing out SETI and Bobby Banger over this Africa stuff.
Damn.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube. I even recorded it.
So it's nothing but agents and criminals.
Yep. And they co-signed Michael Nowak, a pedophile.
Damn. I'm not
But anyway,
surprised they do what they're told.
well, anyway, let's continue.
Very thoroughly. They said that they were melanated. They said they had Moorish attire, sashes and things of that nature, plume feathers. Everything that they were used to seeing in the Iberian Peninsula, they saw mimics of it over here.
So there's been many different waves of Black people coming here to the Americas.
Can you pause that for 1 second? I'm
That
sorry.
you had Moorish explorers.
He said they had Moorish attire, plume feathers, but they show turbans. Now, I know ancient Libyans had the feathers in their head, but they did not have turbans because turbans didn't come around till Islam.
Yep.
So see, that's where they see when they try to talk that talk, when they're talking to an idiot, they can get by on that. But see, when people don't know that, because they think that most Black people don't know the timelines and the dates.
Yep.
So that's why they can get slick. But we know the plume feather, you can see that going way back to ancient Egyptian times with the ancient Libyans. That was always a character, a cultural trait that they use. Put that in their head.
Oh, and then they put that on the Punt Libya type hieroglyphics too.
Yeah, because they were Libyans. And they were enemies of Egypt. So, and it's West Africa, Northwest Africa. So that's a Moorish type of thing.
Yeah.
So some paintings, they do have some Moors with the feather, with the turban. And of course, once the Turks had their influence and started taking over, then you see the fez and you see the turban wrapped around the fez. And that's how you know when it's Turkish. The Turkish takeover is happening when you see the turban wrapped around the fez. And the Moorish Science Temple, they'll never tell you that because they don't want you thinking about that.
Well, we're going to continue.
All the way back to the 7th and 8th century, trading with people here. You have documents talking about a Moorish explorer named Ibn Said trading with the people over here in the New World.
So that's a new one, Ibn Said. Where did he get that shit from?
I met that name is a name that never came up, and from what I've been reading. Ibn Khaldun, that's the one that usually comes up as the so-called Arab historian of West Africa. But not these guys. But see, again, in order for them to be Islamic Moors, they had to have been after the Arabs came, or else they wouldn't have Arabic names.
That's funny. And could you briefly go down like the Arab history, like where did they get this idea that they're Arabs when they were like Mesopotamians, Persians, and all that?
See, they didn't even really call themselves Arabs. That's why I always point people to Lawrence of Arabia in that scene where the British are calling them Arabs, and the Arabs are saying, "What are you talking about? What's this Arab stuff?" people don't catch the small stuff in movies like that unless you read up on the history, because that's when the Ottoman Turks were running the show. But see, the British were trying to break down the Ottoman Empire, so they started calling everybody an Arab. And then once they broke it down, even the Turks got called rebranded Arab, but they were able to stay in control. But they just started calling themselves Arabs. So that's why if you look at the paintings of Ottoman Turks, they look like modern day Arabs, the light ones with the jet black hair, like that guy that just died, Agnan Khashoggi, I think his name was, or Aga Khan, that's his name. Looks like a white dude. But
All right.
I was just gonna say they go back to Iran, and they're not Arabs.
That's crazy.
Moorish explorer Ibn Farouk, there's documents showing that he was trading with a Western continent over here and taking goods and products back to the old world.
They taught them how to bathe, how to be civilized, and anything that you see in Spain today has some regiments of what the Moors brought over there. The series of events.
Hold on, who was that that said that?
Multiple battles that were lost.
Or Ibn Farouk, there's documents showing that he was trading with a Western continent over here and taking goods and products back to the old world.
They taught them how to bathe, how to be civilized.
Raheem's
and anything that you see in Spain today has some regiments of what the Moors brought over there. The series of events, they were a series of battles, multiple battles that were lost throughout the Reconquista and whatnot, which happened to be about 400 to a 500-year campaign.
Now, when we talking about this Moorish stuff and hidden colors, why are we getting a retread of that?
I guess because, like people say, he might be one. Might be a Moorish guy.
And then a lot of infighting was taking place.
So ultimately,
and that can also explain why he and Taharqa Bey keep going at it, and why Taharqa Bey, like you said, he still didn't show that body cam footage.
On top of that, since he's a so-called Moor, since we bringing this up, why in the hell is he calling himself black when the Moors say that they ain't black, they white?
Well, he doesn't call himself black. That's part of what we had that little debate on. But I called him in a lie, of course, because that's why he doesn't like to debate people. Tariq doesn't like to do it either. If you notice, most of his callers are fake, and some of them sound like they're reading from scripts, because they all promote his products. Yeah, I want your root word. Why are white supremacists coming on promoting your products if they're white supremacists? Make no sense. But you know it's fake though. But Taharqa Bey, that body cam, I always question that event. I think it was you or Brandon who said, why did the camera pan to the smack? If they're fixed, because usually security cameras are fixed. So who's panning them unless it's a live person? And why did he go there with the body cam? Because Taharqa Bey doesn't normally do videos outside. So what does he need a body cam for? And where's the footage? He said he was going to show us the footage. But why? How did you know that you were going to come in contact with Tariq in order to need a body cam?
Exactly.
I just ask questions. That's all I do.
Because that's crucial evidence that would be shown in court, right?
Yep.
And he would show that shit on live because this nigga hit him.
How come he ain't called the police when Tariq slapped him? And you can't say because you don't want to snitch because you're taking them to court. That's a form of snitching too.
Exactly. For money. Yep. Gucci Bear over here snitching too. He went to court with the man.
Oh, that's one more thing on Taharqa Bey. He said he had a researcher called Moochie Bear, but he claims that he never heard that Brandon was called Bucci Bear by Tariq. it's all coincidence. You know that's bullshit. Gotta be bullshit. As
Yeah,
much
he
as
full of shit, bro.
how you gonna be doing all that research on Tariq and not know that Brandon's name from Tariq was Bucci Bear?
Bro, he got all his content from keyboard musician Tom Turkey and Brandon and some of your shit. Already know.
Yep. Come on. I just want to see the body. I've been writing in this chat. Where's the body cam footage? Of course, you know what they do with that kind of comment.
Calm that man out. He ain't work on my platform. He cussing me. Always running, ducking, hiding.
Europe for 700 years. After a while, the Moors got into a lot of infighting. There was a lot of infighting in Moorish Andalusia. There were different kingdoms that were split up. They weren't unified. While they were still getting split up, the white Christian empires, they were consolidating their power. They were getting on code with each other. And they were slowly running the Moors out because the Moors would not get on code. The Moors would not consolidate their power. The Moors wanted to have all of these splintered kingdoms. And the last kingdom was the kingdom of Grenada.
The Moors were pushed out of Europe, and particularly specifically Spain, by a collective group and effort by Europeans. It was led by Henry the Navigator, and he pushed them out of Spain.
Is this motherfucker got a katana?
Africa.
Oh, what?
He becomes known as
This nigga got a katana.
That's what you call cheap productions, man.
It's a European knight with a fucking katana, so this nigga couldn't rent out a goddamn medieval European shit.
I'm sure going forward, probably AI or all that type of shit instead of paying motherfuckers. That way have a better set, you know.
His goofy ass couldn't go to a Renaissance fair and took footage of some people swinging swords at each other or jousting or something.
And now you have to pay him. That's what he's trying to, not for real, that's what he's trying to avoid. That's why he does that.
Cheap bastard.
Because actors, no matter how mannered the role, if one of their first or only roles they can get is playing in a Tariq Nasheed production, they want to make sure they get the credit though. So somebody can say, okay, I played in this, so they can see you, no matter how minor.
Yeah, he actually got some actors on IMDb. Oh, also, isn't there like a union thing where you can't use like stag union actors or something like that?
Yeah,
in your production.
So. Yeah.
But anyway,
one of the first European settlers who has some type of influence and actually becomes a governor in certain part of West Africa.
Spain, as we know it now, they started the modern wave of white supremacy as we know it. They were the ones who came up with the blood quantum laws and came up with these racialized policies really against the Moors. And there's always been this war against the Moors. It's been a religious war. They frame it as Christian and Moor, but it's always a real war between white and black. And that war continues now.
These Moors were successfully removed out of Spain, the Great Capitulation. There are many factors that we have to bring up that led to this eventual expulsion. We have the Reconquista, which was a concerted effort.
okay, I can't get over the fact that he put katanas in his bitch.
Right?
I can't deal with the fact that he brought them on as intellectuals. I mean, what the hell are their credentials besides being Masons?
Grenada was the last Moorish stronghold in Spain. The kingdoms of Castile and Aragon, they consolidated their power, consolidated their military, and consolidated their resources, and they finally got the Moorish stronghold out of Spain, 1492.
So the conversion was basically to drop your faith, right? Become Morisco. You have to become a little more Morisco, what they considered a little more. And for the Jews, they had to get baptized.
and they had to take on anglicized names. Anglicized names, an example of that would be in history. There's stories about a Muhammad Ibn. He turns into Alfonso. So when we read
How the hell is that an anglicized name if that's Spanish? Anglicized means English. And this is the intellectuals he brought on. They're not, motherfuckers weren't Anglos in Spain. It's fucking idiots. This is why you don't bring these this is why you don't bring hood scholars on, man. That's why you don't do it.
Well, he does, and he doesn't get people that are certified. Like, come on, you could have at least reached out to one of these niggas like Yanaz the Lone Wolf Hill, heck, Turtle Boy, fucking damn Siku, Gay Winter Night Wolf.
He wants his version of shit so he can repackage and resell shit.
Exactly. With the same Hidden Colors crew.
Yep, that's why he's trying to hype up his next Hidden Colors, because he knows these other documentaries didn't do nothing.
What, you about to do another Hidden Colors?
Yeah.
Stop.
That's why he's been talking about it over the past month or so. Talking about, yeah, Hidden Colors did this, man. It was phenomenal. Because every time he's about to come up with something new, like keyboard musicians used to say, he gives you the pre-hype for a few weeks, a few months. And then he'll say, okay, now I got the Hidden Colors. Now I want you to pay for it, give some donations, but the shit is already made. It's the same routine he's been pulling for years and years and years.
I'm guessing so with this next Hidden Colors, he gonna start selling more content from the Aboriginal paradigm to back up what he was saying in his recent lives.
Yeah, matter of fact, that's what that guy that threatened him to the last video I saw. He said, you're just gonna come up with Hidden Colors talking about more of this Afrocentric shit. That's what you did last time, right? He tried to say, no, I talked about the Indian stuff too.
Bullshit. No, we calling people dusty wolves. You don't want to hear no criticism where you want to sit up here and insult people.
Right.
But anyway, let's continue.
They're talking about Moors or Jews, and they're anglicizing their names.
When people talk about Thanksgiving, there's many rumors and folk tales about the real origin of Thanksgiving. It has nothing to do with the Pilgrims getting with the Native Americans and them having this big feast. Many people say the real origin of Thanksgiving is in Spain in 1491, November 25th. This is when the last Moorish stronghold gave up power and turned over the keys to Grenada to the Spaniards.
The Africans are bringing a culture. Spain didn't have a culture. In 1492, when Castile and Aragon, the kingdoms of Isabella and Ferdinand, overtook Boabdil in Granada, they didn't bring anything to the table. And quite frankly, Spain has been falling out of place since then.
Many people believe that the turkey was supposed to represent the Turkish Moors. A lot of the Moors were connected to the Turkish Ottoman Empire, and the Moors had these red fezzes that they would wear and red scarves and red bandanas. And the turkey, as we know, it has a...
wait a minute. Do you recall when this nigga was in Hidden Colors? He was talking about how the monkey was wearing the red fez and shit like that.
Vaguely, yeah. I haven't seen it in a while, but yeah.
So why is he flip-flopping with this Moorish stuff?
You know, I heard him say this shit the other day on one of his lives. So apparently, I didn't even know he got this. He already said this shit and this shit already. He been saying a whole lot of that. See, he repeats the same shit. He doesn't add to it because he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He just gets the script and runs with it. Same shit. That's why he doesn't like to debate real people, because he can't explain himself after a certain point.
Exactly. It's fucking crazy, bro.
I think after this, he says that's where they got called Turks or something like that. But they were called Turks way before they entered around the Mediterranean. Because I was reading up on that shit. And like I always said, the further back you go, the original Turks were Mongol Asians. And that's more than clear visually.
I believe that nigga should have just made a documentary off of what he read off of that all black everything site. Because at least they agree with what we're saying, and they'll fight the people that actually disperse the information. Tariq
Right.
doesn't.
The only thing is that site, they don't seem to want to accept that original Turks were Mongol Asian.
Yep.
They said that they were white.
Yeah, that's crazy work.
But that's not true. That the Mongol Asians, they're the ones who conquered whites as they started moving east and made them slaves.
Mm.
And that's how they got turned into Turkish with Turkish names and shit.
So let's continue.
So a lot of the white supremacists said that, okay, these are the Turkish Moors, and they kind of made the turkey the symbol of the Moors, according to folk legend.
Okay, he says, after the Moors were removed from power in Spain, some of the Moors who converted to Christianity assisted Columbus with his voyage to the Americas.
Because Africans had been taken, there's two currents, the Canary currents, and then I think the other one's called the Congo currents. It's further up the Guinea. And both of them will lead you to the Caribbean. One will drop you automatically in the Gulf of Mexico, and the other will drop you automatically in the Dominican Republic. Africans have been doing this for centuries on centuries on centuries. And so they told Columbus about this. Columbus take it back to, they knew they weren't going to no India, but they had to sell a package. They couldn't sell a no man's land package, but they said we can get to India to the gold and the wealth and so forth.
And that log will go from Africa into the Caribbean without any cruise, sails, whatever, because it's the sea current. The fish do it too. You mean people who are fishermen can't do that? Nobody ever got? Of course they did.
The thing about Christopher Columbus, a lot of people believe that the Columbus voyage was a big finesse. A lot of people believe that Columbus knew he was not going to India. They knew where India was. But Columbus sold this finesse because it's easier to get money and resources to travel to a known place than to say, I want to get money and capital to go to some unknown world that we've not explored before.
One of the boats, the Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria, I'm not sure which one, but one of them was owned and operated by twin Moore brothers, the Pinzon brothers. And so we see that the Africans were intricately involved.
Pinzon, huh? That sounds Moorish to me, but here's the thing. They forget that the Mediterranean, especially the Eastern Mediterranean, was still under Islamic control. So that's why they couldn't go to the East. See, they don't understand that. They don't talk about that part. So they had to explore West. That's why the Portuguese went to West Africa and down and around, and not through the Mediterranean.
Vasco da Gama route.
Right. Because the Turk Ottoman Empire, the Moors got beat, but the Ottoman Empire was still running the show.
They had the whole Eastern Europe on lock, like at the border of like Western China, where you see those European looking like Jew type people. Uyghur. Yeah. They had that on lock. They had India on lock. They had North Africa on lock.
Those Uyghurs are Turks.
Yep. So they didn't want to fight with no Mongol Huns or no Ottoman Empire with what's his name, Vlad Dracula and all that. So they said, "Fuck it, let's just sail around the continent of Africa."
They didn't have any choice. But see, these master teachers, they don't like telling you that. For what? Because maybe they don't know. Maybe that could be why. Or maybe they're hiding something, hiding the truth.
Probably. Right. Well, anyway, let's play.
Happened in that area.
He lied to them about where he was going. And because if he's going to India, we got to guarantee gold. We don't have to worry about the Silk Road. The Chinese got that under lockdown. But now he's going to help us get the same wealth without the Silk Road, without the Marco Polo thing. He didn't predict, at least not without they wanted at that moment in history. And that's why they put Columbus in prison all those years.
So many historians believe that Christopher Columbus knew that he was going to a new land. And plus, Christopher Columbus had Moorish sailors and explorers with him, and they knew where the Americas were, because when Christopher Columbus sailed off in 1492, remember, they took over Grenada. And when you take over a society, when you take over an empire, you take over their resources, you take over their knowledge, you take over their science, you take over their navigation, you take over their military. And the Spanish, they got access to those Moorish maps in 1492 because the Moors, they had a stronghold on trade. And they're not going to give up their trade secrets. They're not going to tell you where they're getting their products from. They're not going to tell you who the plug is. Once they got conquered, once they got expelled from Spain, now you got all of that knowledge. So the minute they got those Moorish maps, they hit the road.
One of the things that the Spaniards did, the Crown of Castile and Aragon, the one thing that they did was that they removed the Africans that were on the land. They removed them from the land. And the one way, it's pretty much what the British did to the Irish, moving them. In order to take the Irish land, they removed them and brought them to the United States. What they did with the Africans in Spain, they tried the same exact thing.
When Columbus and other explorers came to the Americas, they all brought Black translators with them. Even up in Canada, they had Mateo da Costa. Down in South America, they had Juan Garrido. Here in the Americas, they had people like Estevanico the Moors, the Nino brothers. These were Moorish explorers. In fact, the boats that Columbus used, they were owned by Moors.
One of the most famous translators, his name is Mateo da Costa. He actually was
Pause that.
Translators.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
What's going on for Black?
Hey, nothing. So is that Hidden Color?
No, this is American Maroon.
Oh.
You heard the name of that person, right? Mateo da Costa. That's one of Tariq's son's name, Mateo. Another Moor, Tariq and Mateo.
Yep.
So this your first live?
Yeah, on StreamYard.
Hey, I'm so happy to catch you.
Mm-hmm.
I so happy to see you and catch you right now.
Oh, so you missed like half of the video.
Yeah, I'll go back and check it out. So, what you guys been talking about?
This documentary.
Oh,
yeah, Carrie Davis came on. We had a brief discussion. Al Kwame is like deciphering and debunking some of the talking points within this mockumentary. How he wants to claim to be FBA, but he's mixing the dope with the ideology by saying that we're Moors.
yeah, he's a big contradiction. That's why I can never follow FBA because he flip flops too much for me.
Mm-hmm. So you can give insights on what you hear in the video and put your thoughts.
Well, I'm coming in kind of late because not at the beginning. I just literally seen you on and just hopped up here.
All right. So the rundown was you miss Deanna Bailey, aka Dr. Mayat. She's a grifter, you know that.
Yeah, I've heard of her before.
Alcohol can give you the brief rundown about her.
Is that the one that got braids or dreads or something?
Yeah. Yep. She said that she could smell 200-year-old piss and shit in the dungeons of Gory Island. She was over here trying to defend Ron Karinga on her channel multiple times, calling Black Americans cowards and denying the fact that he beat up Black women with his code of light-skinned concubines.
You know, torture is the better word.
So she's a Pan-African though, huh?
Yeah, it grifted onto the FBA stuff.
Purported Pan-African.
Oh, and she made a series of cartoons that are multicultural, but they're supposed to be Pan-African.
Oh, Lord.
But if you look at her history before this hustle she got into, she was a high-powered gangstress in Baltimore.
Yep.
A what?
Gangstress, pushing that weight.
Oh shit.
Robin Banks and shit.
She was serious. These other people, they were doing those petty crimes, and then they got caught up in this fake pro-black stuff to stay out of prison. But she was doing the real deal that would have led her some real time. Carrying
Isn't she a
guns.
Sinetta disciple?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sinetta brought her on.
Yeah.
She ratted out her own crew and took a plea deal.
What?
And then, yeah, Young Pharaoh doxed her ass.
Oh shit! I missed out a lot.
If you got a Facebook page, what's his name? Unc Crackpipe did an expose on her, Deanna Bailey.
Oh, wow! How long ago was this?
What was this?
Years ago.
I think this is in the 2010s, I think.
Oh, I wasn't around for that. I didn't come to 2018.
Damn.
Now, if you actually see, if you listen to other people, it's going to be bad. But if you actually read the documents, that's when you get to see that she was the serious gangster. These other people say they're gangster, but she was really gangster.
And she's still just out there, and people listen to her, and she don't have no issues with snitching or whatever she did.
No, because they're cool.
Nobody knows her background.
Oh,
they like to slate cleaner her. She a government agent.
And the ones that do know, they look the other way.
One of our ops, Sean P, was over here kicking it with her.
I'm glad you guys I mean, I would never kick it with a Pan-African, but it's I only see her every blue moon with somebody. I forget the person, but
probably Ankh.
Probably.
Yeah, Bobby Banger.
I forgot to change his name.
But have you been talking about Tariq Nasheed hard code lately?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've been missing your lives.
Oh, thanks. I get tired of it, but I'm glad people call him up and they give him that work.
We need to be giving Umar Johnson more work. You know, his Cash App finally doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll come back on. It seems to always come back on.
He did a live talking about one of us struggle YouTubians got him off of Cash App, so he's reiterating his pay cash, her PayPal, whatever, for him to get paid that way in his PO box today.
Whatever happened to that Ghana situation of him getting citizenship? Why the fuck he bring his ass back here?
Because that's just another lie of manipulation that he's bringing back a citizenship for us to feel like we need to go get one, somewhere. They're making it easier for people to get citizenship in Burkina Faso by that Dr. Eric Kana scammer that I know of. She's trying to get them to go June, paying $365 for membership for her ADI, pay for your African ancestry test so that you can prove that you have ancestry descent, and then pay some type of money for investment or something. Then you can get citizenship to Burkina Faso as if that's a safe place to be.
Right.
That's like a whole scam because DNA test, that's just hypothetical shit. And I took the shit myself. I took the 23andMe and the ancestry test. And both of those.
How much did it cost? How much did the kit cost?
It's cheap, actually. It's like $23 for
the 23andMe.
I got it on a deal, like one of them holiday deals.
Oh.
So I took like the 23andMe first, and it came back like fucked up. They said like I got 5% unspecified. I got like 68% West African. They were pinpointing it to Sierra Leone, Liberia area,
non-British colony.
Did you get all emotional and start crying?
Hell no! I already knew what to expect. I signed in anonymously. Actually,
did the Chinese come up?
Yeah, it did. It said 11%.
Do you think that's accurate percentage?
Yeah, they pointed out that 11% Chinese, but they lowered it with my brother. We all got different results.
So you have Asian in you?
Yes, I have an Asian ancestor.
And you have a grandparent that's Asian?
Yeah, great grandparent.
Oh, okay.
Great grandparent.
But y'all have the same parents, right?
Yes, we have the same parents. It's just that the results came back fucked up. Like my mom got some shit that we don't even know anything about within our genealogy. Like they were saying that she has Southeast Asian in her, and we don't have Asian on that side.
Mm.
And
I
they were
thought you
also
had
saying that she's
Indian.
Caribbean, and we're not Caribbean either.
What about Indian?
Yeah, the American Indian thing, they was over here trying to lessen it, calling it like 0.7
They
on the
always do that.
23andMe, but in the ancestry, they said it's 1%.
So you and your siblings came up with different results.
Yeah, they got for my sister is kind of neck and neck with the results, but they took away the Indian genetics out of her.
See, and the truth be told, they shouldn't have taken anything away from any of you if you all have the same parents.
Yeah, and it says that my brother has a larger percentage of Indian than we do.
What
But
about European?
The European, they gave us like, I think somewhere in between 16%.
Tyron, you see your comments?
Yeah, I see why, Kate. I don't take that shit seriously.
I'll
though,
never take that test.
It's just hypotheticals.
Somebody said they would pay for my test, but they never sent me the money, so I ain't take it.
Oh, really? And what they do with the specifics where they talk about Black Americans, they call it African diaspora, but we already know what that shit is. It's specifically those indigenous groups that they don't talk about that are deceased. And when it comes to a white person, they'll sit up there and say like early European settlers, and with Black Americans, they say African diaspora settlers. And then they break it down to different communities. Like, for example, with mine, it says Yadkin PD. We know what that shit is. Those are Muskogean type peoples. It says Low Country, Gullah Geechee. Basically, those people from that area is where they're pinpointing my shit at within South Carolina, which I already knew that shit because my genealogy says that I mostly come from that area. Also, Virginia. But with my mother's results, it's hella wonky because they're adding in things that we have no clue about, and they're saying that she's a Caribbean, and my mother's side, my mother's mother, she's not a Caribbean. I think they're putting in something from her father, which that from what I know, they don't give out like your fathers. If you're a woman taking the DNA test, they don't give you the patriarchal why.
What did they say as far as the Caribbean? What did they say?
The Caribbean, they're saying like Jamaica.
You think that's where the Chinese part came from?
No, the Chinese man didn't come through the Caribbean. He came through possibly New York or California, one of those migration patterns with undocumented paper sons.
So how did your family mingle with Asian? How'd you meet them? How did
on my dad's side, the Chinaman, he came through like early 1920s, 1940s time frame. And he came through like you had the Chinese Exclusion Act and Manila Galleons come in through like Angel Island, and they migrated to the East Coast. He built his own laundromat out here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he married a Black American. And they had a couple of children.
So they were married.
The first one died. I think her name was Rose. She ate like a laundry detergent, and that caused her to die early as a baby. And they had other kids like Philip. They had the names escape me right now, but they had 3 other kids, and Philip Jr. is my line. No, not my. Oh, it's not Philip. It's one. Oh, it is Philip. My bad. It's Philip's line, Philip Jr. and he had other kids, which was Marzetta, which is my grandmother. He had Lombardo and the other Philip Jr.
So you
So
never met him or knew him. You just knew of him.
he died like in the 1960s. He was working
Oh,
at, he also had job doing landscaping. He fell out of a tree from a
oh
heart attack.
no. Oh shoot. I'm sorry to hear that.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
uh, Philip Sr., he had a bunch of kids as well, and some of them died in a fire.
Mm,
Hmm.
wow. That's deep. Well, the test, did get a little accurate, somewhat, but I really don't believe in them like that. I think genealogy is more trusted.
Yeah, it is. Because also what's beneficial part of the DNA test is they'll give you recent relatives, like generation 5 generations going back, like, and cousins that you can reach out to. That's first generation, second generation, twice removed, once removed, third removed, or whatever, going all the way up to your fifth generation grandparent. But it can't go beyond, like, past the late antebellum. It can't go into like the colonial period because they don't have access to those ancestors that's been in the United States in that time.
Isn't it strange that no American ancestry is ever brought out? Like everything else is outward. And we've been in America for hundreds of years, but we don't pinpoint here in America, or do you?
Mm.
I'm
Say that
asking,
again.
do you pinpoint America as being your DNA people?
Yeah, because I can't. They with this DNA stuff, it hasn't given me any African relative, but they gave me like white people that's related to me. They gave me recent Asian relatives that's connected to Charlie Leon, and it also gave me Black Americans that's throughout the United States, like all the way up there in Alaska.
Oh,
Black
you mean they're
Americans,
alive? You talking about they're
yeah,
living?
that's living, not
Okay,
deceased people, living people.
okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what DNA can connect you to, is living people,
And
not
those
deceased.
people obviously took a DNA test.
Yeah.
So that's how they can connect that. That's like, trying to find a brother or a sister. That's easy to do. But other stuff like trying to trace you back to some mythical Africans who never took a DNA test,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
And with
possible.
the they got 3 different types of tests, which is the Y paternal test, which that takes you all the way back to out of Africa theory. Which mine's, they gave me like I descend from King Ramses III on the Y,
Hmm.
and on the mitochondrial, they saying that my ancestor is one of the oldest African groups
I'll tell
to
you what,
ever
you see
be in
how
Africa.
accurate that is. Take that to Egypt and say, God damn it, I want my antiques.
So white people can't mock you with the "we was king" stuff because we do have Egyptian ancestry.
Right. So hey,
Mm-mm.
get your stuff, get your money, get a cut of that tourist dollars. This is your relatives stuff they're coming to see, not you Ottoman Turks.
So
Exactly.
how do you feel about having African ancestry? Do you feel some kinship or
I don't
commonality?
deny it. I don't deny it. If it's there, it's there. Shit. But
But that
I
that
don't
still
have
doesn't
any
make us that still
connections to
doesn't
them
make us
people.
African though.
It
It
don't.
still make us
And
African.
also, with these DNA tests, they don't give you a nuance of Black Americans who have Indian genetics that went over there and procreated with those people.
Right. And they obscure Indian. It's just like if you say European, there's no real such thing as European DNA. And the Germanic tribes, they invaded Europe. They're not from Europe, so they can't have European DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they obscure and lie about things. Now
Mhm.
now after this, I love for me to have a DNA test, and if they come back with 60, 70, 80% African on me, I know they're lying. I'm going just by visual alone.
Oh,
I know
and
that.
sometimes I think that these DNA companies go off an algorithm too, because they can listen in on any device and pick something out of your head and put it up on your DNA test. Because like this was something funny to me, because my mom and my sister was always talking about like the Caribbean connection between Black Americans and uh, our genetics with those people within the context of slavery and indigenous slavery in particular,
But see, people
and
in
they put
South
that shit
America
in
would
there
have more
out
in
of
common
nowhere.
with them than us. People in South America would have more in common with them than us because they're right there.
Yeah.
But you know what? You guys mentioned citizenship in Africa. I forget that's something else that Tariq Nasheed is almost begging for a lot. He always says, "You're not helping us out. You're not giving."
He acts like that's what we want, and that's
Right.
not what we want. We don't want to have nothing to do with Africa like that.
But for
So
some odd reason, he wants it.
I wouldn't care if somebody offered like 6 different places of Africa. I would decline.
Yeah, because that ain't doing nothing for us.
I don't want to be there. So citizenship doesn't make no damn difference.
Something tells me he might want it because he might need to get away in case some of his scams get uncovered.
Exactly. And here's another thing about his
No,
integrity.
that's the olive leaf of him just keeping Pan Africanism just slightly out there like that with that citizenship talk. That's what that's about. He's still angling for other people to pay him money based off of he's not too anti-African, you know what I'm saying? Because he wants to get citizenship, you know what I'm saying? So he's putting it out there for people to gravitate to that.
Right.
He's
And what does he have to do
manipulating.
with
You mentioned
FBA
that
anyway?
for Black. But you
Huh?
mentioned it. I asked Jason Black the same thing, and you already know their integrity, right? I said, it seems like you guys are at a crossroads between this Aboriginal paradigm and the Pan African stuff. And this nigga crashed out on me when I asked him about this. He said, "Am I a Pan African?" I mean, yes, nigga, you've been talking about Pan African scholars.
I think he is. I think Mr. or whatever his
Jason
authority,
Black.
whatever his name, Black Authority is Pan African.
At least they
But he's
try
been
to
saying a
come
lot of
off as a.
Tariq Nasheed talking points.
But then Jason Black, he just made a video putting down Trump. I didn't hear the whole thing. Maybe he cleaned it up at the end, but he's putting down Trump, right?
I think
Recently.
so.
And Tariq, he keeps defending Trump no matter what, even on the South African thing.
Oh, and don't Bucci Bear support Trump too? He voted for him.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So how can you be a Pan-African and be a conservative? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Or be a Pan-African and a liberal. Because it goes hand in hand with communism, socialism, all these isms that comes up out of Russia, right?
Right.
Anything that gets you out of America.
Better yet, not Russia. The small hats out of Russia.
Yep.
Because you notice that's another thing when people keep pushing Tariq on his show about the small hats, my man gets real defensive, real tight, real quick. My man don't want to hear it. He's like, you're babbling, and kicks him out of there real quick. He don't want to hear nothing.
Yep.
That's how you know who's controlling him.
They do store your information though for safekeeping, and other parties might have access to those DNA results. So I don't trust it. You know, they can do stuff with that stuff. Yeah, you can find other people that you may not know of and all that, but they still have your information for crimes and other stuff that could happen that they could get you for, because your information is in a database stored forever.
Yep. Especially if you're a criminal.
Mm-hmm. Or if you have a relative that's a criminal or a murderer or a raper or wherever like that, they can find them through you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's what they want. That's what all these DNA tests are for. That's why agents keep saying you need to take one. You better take one. It's good to know.
Yeah, because they're trying to like keep all our information so that they can, and also they can make a super bug or a super virus to match
Oh,
us.
since you mentioned that, 23andMe was under fire for that shit too.
Mm-hmm.
Telling they users information over to these health companies to make bioweapons against the people.
I don't know if you've been watching these police videos. I was watching one where some people were doing some check fraud in Atlanta, and one cop came over because they had a bunch of IDs on them. So they said, we got to find out who the real you is. So they bought that fingerprint device. I said, that's dangerous. I don't like that. But I guess it has some positives. So they take your fingerprints right on the spot and find out who you are right there.
Is YK the truth a Pan-African? Because he always
he's
talks
a Pan-African, bro.
He's down there salivating right now about your results.
He's always been like that. He's been like that since he took on a debate with me. I body bagged him with that silly shit.
He's obsessed with DNA in Africa.
Yep, that he is. He'll go as far as to defend Walter Plecker and that coon Henry Louis Gates and Rick Kittles, who denies reparations and blames slavery on black people.
What?
Yes, there's an article out there saying that Henry Louis Gates said that black people demanding reparations is racial bullying white people.
Wow.
And he defended Ben Affleck trying to hide his genealogy of owning slaves.
That sounds like Uncle Tomism.
Yep. And Rick Kittles too. This nigga contradicted himself on Rock Newman talking about black Americans may have DNA of American Indians in them, but you got to find out which branch. And enough with these definitives, but then circle his wagons and go over there to Bobby Banger to some Pan-African channel and say that, we trying to use this Indian stuff to claim casino money, not knowing that we had our own casinos like Majestic Star, Green Check County Casino, where Benjamin Lewis and what's his name, Senator Scott Beeson was telling people that black Americans are Indians and Aborigines, and they made Scott Beeson apologize for that for some reason.
At least now people like Tariq Nasheed are starting to acquiesce to the fact that some of the Indians that own these casinos are indeed clearly black.
Yep, Foxwoods too.
Yep.
Remember in the 90s when Donald Trump was hassling the Pequot Foxwoods? He said that most of these Indians look like Michael Jordan with Don Imus.
But he wasn't lying. I remember I went out there for the first time and I saw them with the jacket, the vest. I had to go up to him because that's when I was very bold. I had to go up to him. I said, hold up. This was things that started getting me to thinking about a lot of things. I said, hold up, you guys supposed to be Indians? Then that's when he's like, well, what does one look like?
What is the end game for these people that deny our ancestry here in America? They are acting like agents against us, like they're definitely anti-American, but they won't leave America. They want to keep talking shit about we're not really American. That's just so bizarre.
They're trying to get us to leave.
What is your end game, YK the truth? Are you planning on going to Africa since you have this obsession of worship of Africa?
I don't think he does. He'll study some African stuff, but he's still here in the United States and trolling Aboriginals. Like he doesn't really have an end game of getting Black Americans any restitution or reparations for slavery or Jim Crow. And
speaking of that,
worried about this African diaspora stuff.
Did you hear what Tariq Nasheed said lately about reparations?
What did he say?
This is why I don't want this guy speaking for me. He said 100,000 each will work.
Wow.
I said before he said 500,000. Now he down to 100,000.
Yeah, he's tripping.
100,000. That's chump change, man. I don't even want to deal with that.
What's
I,
going
This,
on, your
this must be YK.
What's going on, my African brother? My African Chinese brother? What's going on, Hardcore? And sis, I don't know your name, but peace to you.
That's
what's up?
Core Black. And this
Yeah.
Alpha.
So what's your end game since you're so obsessed with Africa? Are you planning on going to Africa?
I never said I was obsessed with Africa.
Were you so obsessed about DNA tests and you don't think that nobody else can claim America as having ancestry here?
But I've never said that we don't have any ancestors to America. I never said that.
So what's your end game? Why are you so obsessed with indigenous talk?
Well, for one, I'm obsessed with the fact that people say they are something, but they don't show the evidence. So
Why
I
did they
have
have
no.
to show evidence to you?
Yeah, right. But if you argue with me night and day, you can't turn around and say, "Well, it does." I'm not going to prove it to you, but you just spent 8 years arguing with me. So if you could spend 8 years arguing with me, why not take 2 seconds to provide the evidence? It just don't make any sense to me.
And we're doing this tonight because we're going over American Maroon and uncovering what these individuals have to say. And some of the information is true, but it's mixing the bullshit.
Right. If that's what you're going to talk about, I'll just listen respectfully, bro, and see, stick around for what you're doing. I'm not going to troll too much because I don't really got an issue with you. You know what I mean? But
well, apparently you do because you've been tagging me and shit, and I had to respond.
Nah, I tagged you because I wanted you to see it. I didn't tag you because I felt you agree with that information. I know you don't agree with that, but I just wanted you to see it, the hypocrisy that's going on. That's it. It wasn't too.
What are you talking about? There is no hypocrisy. Like,
yes, it is. If you say
Walter Plecker, that's not doing genealogy.
I never tagged you in that.
Yes, you did.
You in the what? You ain't respond to that one.
Yes, I did.
Nah, I ain't see you. I
did. I replied to YouTube. With AP. You know how YouTube deletes comments, right?
Yeah.
I did respond, and I said, "Why are you defending a eugenicist that was cool with Marcus Garvey?"
No, I didn't see that, bro. I didn't see that.
I literally said that. Why are you defending? Why are you defending a white supremacist that does not believe that Aboriginal black people are aboriginal to this landmass, even though historically Virginians said that these Indians are niggas?
Right. I respect.
We can talk about how the Pequots were called cannibal Negroes. We can talk about how John Smith described the paramount chief of the Powhatan as black as the devil. We can talk about all this Indian slavery going on up till the Bacon's Rebellion, where you had a bunch of free Negroes, but Indians were enslaved.
Let's stay in the topic. The reason why I respect Walter Plecker is because he had something that was called racial integrity. That means to have some integrity about your race. Keyword, integrity. So if you're trying to claim something you're not, Walter Plecker is going to go find those records. See, the Aboriginals leave that part out when Walter Plecker's doing genealogy and saying, no, you come from this. So Walter Plecker was convinced that there was not an Indian who didn't have some form of African ancestry. This is historical documents. So why are you mad at somebody for practicing racial integrity? He want to keep his shit pure. We want to keep our shit pure. The only people who hate Walter
Plecker, we're not pure.
We're not pure. That's the thing.
I'm gonna land my plane. The only people who hate Walter Plecker is the people who want to be an Indian or the people who want to date outside their races. And he's like, I'm not having it. So he's the boogeyman. And I digress.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, brother.
So that was not even his point because he wanted to erase Indians altogether and claim a white ethno state within the United States.
Hold
on, brother. You ain't gonna come up on here and make this your show. This is my show.
Yeah, but I just want you to source.
So again, and I even have his little booklet in the house. So again, this man is a eugenicist. And racial integrity, we already know that's not even scientific because race is a pseudoscientific construct. It's not real. And then on top of that, even Europeans have so-called African ancestry and overlap into Africa. Africa, Europe, and Asia is one big supercontinent, mind you. And they say that they are aboriginal to Africa. So that beats up your claim about racial purity because they were intermixing with these groups.
You're all over
thousands of years. This is not all over the place.
Yes, you are. You talking about 18 different
and then on top of that, don't
slow down, brother.
You moving. I gave you the floor. This is my show.
Land your plane, brother.
This is my show. Do I have to mute you? Because I will.
Oh no, I'll gladly just step away. I'm not gonna be putting it back in all them games y'all be playing.
Gotcha. I don't do that.
Go ahead, brother.
I let you talk. I don't do that coward shit. So again, you tried to claim that, oh, he was trying to keep people from intermixing and stuff like that. Nigga, it's not his fucking role to dick police. It's not his fucking role to dick police nobody.
I never said that.
You just did.
You know what? Now I can repeat what I said. I said racial. I said he wanted this. He wanted racial integrity. If you're this person and you say you're that, be that. And you're right. He did make laws to stop interracial mixing. But what did I say that was wrong? What did I lie about? See, that's why you're gish galloping and you're talking about this 18 things at one time. But
this is not
is it a lie that is it a
hey,
lie
WD, are you pure? Are you a pure African?
No, he's not. And we've seen his DNA test.
He's not gonna answer that.
Was it a lie?
You're not pure anything. You're a multi-race individual.
All I'm saying is this was the purpose of racial integrity. It wasn't to erase anyone. That's a lie. Now, if you saying that, source that up.
Gotcha. So my sister is.
Are you pure?
But anyway,
you're not pure anything. We're all multi-race people at this point. We had no control over some of the things that happened to us in America. We're not one thing. So this pure notion of us being pure is a delusion of your thinking. You're not pure.
Right, but you're more than one thing. You're more African than you are European. Yeah, you're mixed, but how much?
And even if I was, does that make me African? No. And do I have the culture of Africa? No. Am I going to Africa? No. Am I trying to be African? No.
You don't have to.
So what's your point?
Nobody
actually, you are saying
nobody,
that.
No, that's
yes, you are.
This is why y'all do that. Y'all try to find ways. Hold on one second. I'm gonna mute. Y'all try.
I'm American. That's it.
Y'all try to find ways to disagree with us and misinterpret what we're saying. Nobody saying you gotta be African. You gotta learn to be African.
The way you don't let people be who they want to be.
All right, so I'm about to get out of here because I ain't gonna do that, bro. I ain't gonna play them games.
If you gonna come back up here, I already know your tactic, bro.
Oh no, I'm not. I got videos I'm making right now. I got something to do.
But hey, let me ask you a real question, real quick.
I don't pull up because don't misinterpret what we're saying. Nobody said you gotta be an African. Nobody says that. We say you're Aboriginal.
When you keep beating people over the head, that's why I say prove the African.
Prove it. That's it.
Prove the African.
I already showed it. I already showed my
that's you, but prove it for us.
Not here. This is the first show. I ain't never seen your genealogy, bro.
Well, you already on my channel. African ancestry, so you out of this, brother. you out of the game.
How am I out of the game?
Come on our side, man. Respectfully.
That still doesn't prove that I come from Africa. That's just a bunch of percentages.
Bro?
That's a bunch of percentages, bro.
Okay.
What they really said is my people come from American groups within the United States. They didn't give me a specific African relative.
I respect you didn't keep it to yourself, brother. I respect that about you. Like somebody could have found this info and act like they never found this shit. So that shows you got integrity, bro. You're different than a lot of these other people. And I do respect you for that. Because you could
That's
have
the
acted like you
booklet?
never found that shit.
Let me see. Yeah, we got the booklet right here. We got it off a peddler in an antique shop in Virginia. Straight up from Walter Plecker's words. So we about to read it in a little few minutes. But anyway, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I disagree with what you said entirely because why is you going off of a white man worried about somebody's racial pedigree when Indianness is irrelevant to him claiming to be white?
Who did he work for?
He worked with white supremacists. He's a whole eugenicist.
What was his job? His job title, sir?
His job was a doctor over here, wet nursing women.
And who did he work for specifically?
He worked for white statistics.
No, vitals. He worked for the vitals.
Vital statistics, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
So
it's
again,
his job. So it's his job to make sure you are who you say you are, correct?
And guess what?
No answer.
All of your African numbers are fake, bro.
No, I'm asking you that question. We're not talking about that. Is it his job to make sure you are who you say you are?
No, it's his job to classify.
No, it's his job to classify. It's not
right. And how do we classify it?
To go by what people say they are.
Let me tell you this, YK.
Find out who you are in order to.
Hold up, but YK, let me tell you a quick story, real quick. When I was a teenager, I once got arrested. Right? And you know what the guy put down when they asked for a race and color? He put down, I had a fair complexion. That's what he put down. I didn't tell him that. That's what he chose, an Italian guy. So he classified me as he saw fit.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to talk about Walter Plecker. Walter Plecker was going to get these people genealogy. He was doing their genealogy. So if he finds some records that say you're not those people, he's gonna let it be known and say, no, you're not.
No,
that.
He was using lookership. That's
no,
what
he was using genealogy.
He was using lookership, bro.
No,
he was looking at people. Hold on, brother, hold on. Because he was targeting mulattoes, like Turtle Gang. No. He showed up his shit with his family name, which was Richardson Rock, and those people were Cherokee Indians. I looked up this nigga's genealogy. I even talked to his own tribal enrollment that he says he's from, but he ain't got no federal recognition. He got UN recognition, international recognition. So they don't even know if he's a Lenape person. He, from what they know, is a part of the Cherokee freedmen.
Yeah.
But he's not enrolled in the Cherokee Nation.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. But I'm gonna step down. Y'all be good.
No. We about to read this shit.
It says, I got shit to do. I got stuff to do.
This question may be answered in the affirmative today, but if delayed for several generations, it may be forever too late. Taxation without representation was the slogan that fired the colonists of 1776. States' rights was a cry that called forth the determined resistance of the South in 1861 and making the world safe of democracy. Now, I'm going to skip forward into here when it starts talking about people and mixing and all that stuff. Okay, so it says these dangers are apparent to all and were met by armed and united residents, but few realize that for 300 years, the white race of America has been subjected to the process which, though more destructive than war, has aroused no popular fear and has called forth only the most feeble and ineffective resistance. So in 1620, 13 years after the first landing of the English colonists at Jamestown, there came to them a temptation from the evil one, which is the alluring thought of cheap and comfortable labor, which held out to them. They fell and permitted a Dutch trader to land as a start 20 Negro slaves. They quickly realized the possibility of utilizing this form of labor in difficult work, of felling in the forest and breaking the new ground. They became willing partners in this nefarious traffic, and then was introduced the Great American Problem. So it's talking about, they talking about us being black savages, stuff like that, and talking about the purity of the white race, and he keeps referring in here white people as native white American
and trying to make people foreign.
Nah,
Anybody that's
I'm gonna
not.
find another part in here.
nah, that don't hit home.
Nah,
but
nah, nah,
find
nah,
another
nah.
one.
Let's show them the book.
This
Then.
book right here is
another
extremely rare. This book is
No,
extremely
I like what you
rare.
just said. I
Nah,
get
this
what
is
you're saying.
extremely rare. I haven't read the whole thing. It's a booklet.
Virginia
this is
Health
not
Book.
What's the
something
name
that's
of it?
circulated. The New Family and Racial Improvement.
Okay, I'll
It's
check
not
that out.
about making sure that somebody is who they say they are. It's about him doing things to make sure white people don't come extinct.
Right.
It ain't about.
So, and then he refers to white people as native to the Americas. So right there, that doesn't seem scientific or historical at whatsoever.
All right.
This
So,
is about a psychopath out here trying to preserve the white racial identity, which doesn't really exist because white people themselves have admixtures from different ethnicities from around the world. So this is based on pseudoscience.
I was
Right.
That's not genealogy.
Okay, cool.
So you're lying to your followers.
No. That is, first of all, that's not the book. You know, there's another book, right?
That is the book.
This is the book. It's written by him, and it's issued by the Bureau of Vital Statistics, State Department of Health, Richmond, Virginia, 1928, the fifth family series.
The New Family and Racial. All right, cool. All right, I got you.
You're not gonna find this anywhere. This is how good we are at tracking down antiques. I'm trying to read it to you. I'm sharing to you pieces that not a lot of people share their artifacts and read it in full. And I'm trying to find spots in this booklet to read and share to people.
And who's the author of that book?
It
says Walter Plecker. Let me flip to the inside of the cover. It says what? W.A. Plecker, State Director of Vital Statistics.
I got it.
Like I said, this is a very rare book.
So I'll definitely check it out and see if you didn't take
You're not going
anything
to be
out of
able to
context.
check it out.
You're not going to be able to check it out. This is a rare artifact.
Did you hear what I said? I said I'm gonna find it and make sure that you guys didn't take anything.
They don't have a digital copy of this at nowhere.
So I find that mighty odd.
Okay. Try. You can try. And then these books by him are like worth thousands of dollars.
If I do find it right now, it's gonna say that.
Okay, just to letting you know ahead of time that it's gonna be hard for you to do that.
So you doubting the words that she just read, or what?
That's not.
He's doubting. He's saying denialism, but he's denying.
No, that's not what I said. I didn't deny anything. I said I'm gonna find the book to make sure you're not taking anything out of it.
And this is also This is also about eugenics. Let me read this to you. It says this serious situation calls for a speedy enactment of laws based upon Virginia, which defines a white person as one with no trace whatsoever of any blood other than Caucasian, and forbids the intermarriage of whites with those with the slightest trace of Negro blood. So that means even someone like, Johnny Depp, who has Negro blood in his ancestry, according to Walter Plecker, wouldn't be considered white. But we know him now today as white, don't we? So it's based on his own personal definition and nothing grounded in genealogy or science.
Right. All white supremacy.
No, that's not.
So that right there is eugenics.
All right,
That's
cool.
eugenics.
Now, can
There's
I get
a
a
lot
word?
of white folks with Negro blood in them, and
Okay,
even with
cool.
your DNA that you support, they have Negro or Africa or whatever you want to call it popping up in their marquee as their ancestry.
Now,
so right there.
I also have articles as well.
Can you show them? Just like we provided sources.
No, that's actually not.
I don't want an article. I want a primary source.
No,
we give you a primary source.
You could call me.
Hold on, Brandy has integrity. She went to college. She went to Hofstra University.
They scared of that work, bro. I tell you.
No, we're not scared. Brandy has integrity.
No,
she literally graduated.
If she read it from the man in question, I mean, you can't get any better than that.
Bro, I'm very big on vibes. Like I could feel the nervous
How is that
energy.
nervous? Okay,
Oh,
I don't agree with all
I don't know. I feel the
whatever,
confidence.
but I look at all types of
She wasn't
sources
nervous. She was
from
reading.
those that I don't agree with, and I'm actually showing you a source of a guy that you highly respect, and yet you won't even listen to the words that I'm sharing with you from a very rare document. I don't really have to share this with you whatsoever.
I understand, but you quoted something out of a book.
Out of his book from the 1920s.
This is what I'm saying.
A second edition.
This is what. All right, you got it. I'm gonna fall back.
All right.
Because every time I say a word, you just you go crazy.
Go ahead. What you gotta say?
Nah, you got it, bro.
No, go ahead. Speak your mind. This is a safe space for Pan-Africans,
she quoted
white
something.
people, whoever.
She quoted
you won't
something.
Get muted. You won't get booted.
Right. She quoted something to give her reason to why she feels that Walter Plecker is trying to erase somebody and classify the whites as the. So she gave a quote and gave her own context and interpretation of who he is based on what's presented in that book. So she has her idea of what kind of character this man is based on the things he say. Right?
Okay, well, out of what you just heard,
hold on, brother.
Do you think he love black people?
Let me finish, brother.
No,
I love it. It just let me know, man. It's a dead giveaway.
Well, technically, he was friends with Marcus Garvey, and allegedly he took.
But I wanted to hear the words. He was trying to erase someone, because I also heard her mention that slaves were brought over here, and from where? Because that validates that those people wasn't already here. They had to come.
No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say Negroes from Africa. It just says Negro, and from
but
what
it says that the white man brought them, right?
But they could have came from the next state over. It could have came from the damn islands. It could have came from Central America. Could have came from Alaska. It doesn't say Negro is a descriptor.
No,
so basically, a melanated person was brought in.
You said Jamestown, and we all know that story.
I didn't say that. I said about the Dutch bringing Negroes. Okay, regardless if I said Jamestown or not, it doesn't say where they came from.
But we know that story. We know.
So you see how you're cherry picking stuff and then making up conjectures. You're saying you're tearing up your logic, and you can't take it. You're trying to assume that these people were brought in from Africa when it doesn't say that. You just glazed over the point.
We know about the 20.
In fact, I have another excerpt of showing you about his lookership and him coming to conclusions about certain people to erase their identity. Shall I read it?
I think you're reaching, sis. But
all right, let me read it.
Give him the page number.
Page number 19. Page number 19. It says another group of considerable size making vicarious claims, and this is him with his own opinions. Claims of being Indian is being shown to be chiefly of Negro and white composition. Shown based on lookership. It doesn't say based on genealogy. These people are of Negro and white composition. It's him saying that people are making up claims of being Indian, but it's shown to me that they look like Negro and white and will be further forbidden of intermarriage with whites. Does that sound like he has a beef with this group of people that call themselves Indians? Oh, yes, it does. And that's what the racial integrity thing was about. Right. He didn't want any of y'all Negroes to be with the white people. And he called those Negroes, he said, oh, those people that also call themselves Indians, they appear Negro-like. So he's doing lookership. He's not going based off of any documents or anything that's scientific.
So once again, you're reading something and it's making you feel a certain type of way about
it's making me feel what way? Can you tell me how I feel?
It's making you feel that he has something against Indian people.
It's not making me feel. It's him saying it right here. He
exactly, but
he says these inflammatory words. Oh, you want me to find something else that he's saying that's derogatory?
No, what I'm saying is I'm telling you that there was other means that he found out who those people were, and not only by
booklet before a couple of times, and I haven't read that whatever you said
but that's
in
not
here not once.
That's not
and I can comprehend. Like I've made it all the way to like graduate level.
Oh, I know you did.
I can comprehend reading.
I know you're
So,
educated. I know that.
We can cross references
But what I'm
with
saying,
Jack D. Forrest like our body
just because
bag
it's
doing
not
this
in that
last
book
time.
doesn't mean
And it
it's not
says
out
chapter
there.
3, Negro, Black, Moor, and the evolution of these terms as applied to Native
And
Americans
you
and
know
others.
what else?
Page
You know, Walter Plecker
83.
also has a list of last names of all of those people that's
Yeah, I
on
just
that
mentioned
list.
that. Turtle Boy.
Yes, so we know who those people are. We can do this research ourselves to verify if those people were who they say they were. So we don't even have to rely on Walter Plecker at the end of the day.
But you're
So we
moving the
don't need him.
goalposts. You
We're
rely
talking about
on
the
him to prove
1920s.
that you're an African,
Hold on,
though.
we're talking about the 1920s. Whoever he's looking at or he's classifying, we can go and do it ourselves. How about that? Round of applause.
Can you
How
repeat
about
that?
How about this is not the 1600s?
Huh?
Huh?
So crickets. This is simple
Hold
work.
on,
Can you repeat it
that.
clearly? Because I didn't get
Let
to
me
hear
repeat
all
it
that.
clearly. The people who Walter Plecker classified, they are documented. So not only can we go and look at those people who he classified, we can know using our own genealogical research to say who those people are. So we don't even need Walter Plecker.
Okay, Walter Plecker, the thing you don't understand is he changed what people were documented as.
Right.
So
but
anything following his,
even if they did have
even like following his work, things are changed.
Right.
But
So
before he even got his hands on the paperwork, if we use that method you're talking about, you'll really see what people identified as.
All right. So are you
hold on, YK. So
wait,
since
give me-
you
let me-
said
let me
that,
respond.
hold on,
Go ahead,
brother.
go ahead, brother. My bad.
So
Go
since
ahead.
you said that, Turtle Gang is on that list.
I'm not talking
and
about
they could prove that they descend from them tribes,
cool.
but he instead went ahead and deleted the Indian
Right, but
claim.
what you fail to
So again, you
realize
body
is
bag yourself.
because there's records prior to Walter Plecker. There's records. Everybody's ancestors is not only from Virginia. People migrate, go there, they leave records in other states. So Walter Plecker is not going in the system and saying delete. No, that's not what he did.
This guy is not the only one. This is not the only guy.
No.
This is not the only guy who went into the vital statistics and changed things. This is just one notable fella that we know about, that we just happen to have a book about. But this happened throughout the different states.
Right. And that was only in
Since you brought
Virginia.
up this particular man, I'm going to use this guy and his actual written work, primary source. I'm going to use scholarship to point out to you things. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
We can bring up General Sermon.
Oh no, you can do your thing. But I'm gonna listen from the chat because I got something to take care of. But I'm gonna listen to you guys, and I appreciate it.
Okay, you do that.
All right, but I'm listening though.
So again, you lied again because it says right here in this book or chapter 3 on page 84, said in any case, another association gradually arose in North America, and that was between Negro and slave. Early legislation commonly referred to Negro and other slaves, or to Negro, mulatto, and Indian slaves. Over the years, Negro and Black both became synonymous with enslavement. In 1702, an observer wrote that the wealth of Virginia consisted of enslaved or Negroes. But in 1806, Virginia judge ruled that a person who was of a white appearance was to be presumed free. But in the case of a person visibly appearing to be of the slave race, it is incumbent upon him to make out his freedom. In 1819, South Carolina judges stated flatly the word Negroes has a fixed meaning, slaves. What the English meant by the term Negro when they first begun to use it is not clear. Certainly, it was not then synonymous with slave, as a great many persons so classified were free both in England and in Virginia. Did it mean an African, a Black person, or any dark-skinned individual? Today, the term is not widely employed in Britain, although the word black is used to refer to people of various skin colors from all of South Asia, the Middle East, and West Indies and Africa. Most unmixed American Indians, if living in Britain today, would be regarded as black, especially if their ancestry were not known. Several illustrations can be cited to show that not only Africans, but also Americans and Asians were called black or Negro in Britain itself in the 17th, 18th century. In 1621, William Bragg claimed compensation from the Company of East India in Summer Islands for several expenses, including for 13 Negroes or Indian people, 6 women, 7 men, and boys, and so much in the name of God as touching that businesses and touching the Negroes or Indians. Bragg hadn't wanted to sell the captives and refused to value them. In 1688, the London Gazette carried an advertisement for a black boy, an Indian, about 13 years old, runaway, the 8th inch from Putney, with a collar about his neck, with this inscription, the Lady Bromfield Black. In 1709, the Tatler carried an advertisement for a black Indian boy, 12 years of age. Similar usage of language is also found in the play Mangora, written by Thomas More in 1718. In the scene taking place in Paraguay, an American warrior chant to a woman, "Black beauty, come on, I must love thee or none. You see my face black."
Okay, so what is that?
So basically, YK was dancing around the term Negro, and it didn't necessarily mean in the English usage an African, nor in the Portuguese usage. So you fail at that.
It's crazy to me how people get so emotional over these DNA tests and whatnot. I could never. Why can we just can't accept being American? Just leave it at that. Everything else has to be so scatterbrained.
Tell them where they got
even this artifact that we got right here. Hold on, wait. If anybody can see this shit.
What's that?
This is a picture of a postcard, actually, that we got at that same place where we got the Walter Plecker thing in Virginia. It's a picture of Fijians. They're called Snow White and the 7 Pickaninnies. Now, if we know what Pickaninnies are, if you read the novel Peter Pan, right? The Pickaninny tribe is Tiger Lily's tribe. And these are depicting Native Americans, right? So when they use the term Pickaninnies, they are referring to Negroes. This is not necessarily saying African. These are
it's interesting how they changed the term from Negro to African after all this time.
So like words like Negro, Pickaninny, and think black and stuff like that are interchangeable, and they could apply to just about anyone with a melanated skin color.
So it's low hanging.
It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I heard them say Negro in the book, so that must mean that they came from Africa. That's immature to think that way.
I got y'all. Anyways, I appreciate being on here. I'll definitely check you out another time, and nice meeting your sister and everybody. What's up? And goodbye, Hardcore as well. I'll talk to you guys another time. I'm getting sleepy.
Me too.
All right.
Okay.
So should we continue this with a part 2, because we ain't even barely scratched the surface of this?
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, let's do a part 2.
All right. Peace.
All right, peace.